Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and back at it again, folks. Welcome to the Wrestling for Life Network. This is the Dirt Sheet Debate. As we get into all the hot topics in the IWC tonight, we're going to talk about needles and blood and guts and pay-per-views and a whole bunch more. Plus, we're going to talk a little TNA as well. So much to get into, so much to debate. But, folks, get in that chat. Let us know what's on your wrestling mind. And strap in, strap on, grab your snacks, grab your feel good. Let's go! Ding, ding, ding. We are live and back at it again, folks. Like I said, we are the Wrestling for Life Network. If you don't know, we are the channel that watches more live wrestling than anybody else out there. Happy to be back with everybody tonight. It's going to be a fun one. I see that chat filling up already. Get in there. Let us know how you're feeling. We will talk about some of what is on your mind, so do not miss out. But we got lots to unpack. There's been a crazy time in wrestling. So, again, rumors, news, and all that, we are going to get into it. But before we do, I will remind you who we are, as I am Mr. Every Night, KJ White, the Iron Man of YouTube. The Chapeau's back, and so is Big Nick.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Wrestling for Life Network proudly brings to you its YouTube tag stream trios champions of the world. Every night, like KJ White, the Chapeau that runs the show, Ringside Anthony, and I am Big Nick. And so, what do you guys want to talk about?
Man, I don't even know where to begin with this one. There's a lot to uncover. I think the easiest way, let's start with some of the fun stuff and some of the positive stuff. I think the biggest news going around the internet today, of course, is apparently MCMG is making their way to NXT, and this has been a highly contested topic, apparently.
Hi,
Josh. But I'm curious what the fellas think and what the chat thinks out there, as much as, I mean, for my money, we've been waiting for this. We want to know where MCMG is going to go. I think all three of us are big fans of what they bring to the table. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to go to NXT. How do you guys feel?
I'm excited. I think WWE is the only place for them after TNA. At one point, the speculation was so out there. I thought they were just going to return to TNA at Bound for Glory in Detroit, in their home, city. But I'm happy that they're going to WWE NXT. I think they'll do great. Only thing I wish is that they keep their theme and not be Death Rebelled, because we don't need that. We need their old generic theme to come back and be in WWE with their run there. And
yes, they should have them trick. Welcome to Detroit City. Like I said, welcome to Detroit City.
Detroit. They actually put out a tweet. One of them retweeted something, and they had a Death Rebel song tagged to it. So a lot of people are connecting the dots. But yeah, I highly expect them to get deft on the way through the door.
Right. Well, this makes all the sense, though, too. I know it's been the controversial topic here of not just that they're going to WWE, but that they're going to NXT versus the main roster. It makes all the sense in the world that they start at least off on NXT. You have the big moment. You have them get them introduced to the general WWE populace, especially, too. They've still got the TNA deal working out there, so you can still kind of scratch a couple backs there, too, as well. Like, we thought they could have shown up at No Mercy during the tag match and that. We've been waiting for them to show up. It makes sense for them to go to NXT. Every star that WWE signs now kind of goes through NXT. Even Juliet starts off in NXT. You've got to, just because we know who Motor City is, we're not the average WWE consumer. We're diehard wrestling fans.
Yeah.
The average WWE fan probably doesn't know a ton about Motor City Machine Guns. And honestly, I still want to see them like a Axiom versus Frazier. I want to see that match. So I want to see them do a run in NXT.
I think the key thing you said right there was that the majority of everybody that signs with WWE starts off in NXT, with a few exceptions. Some like Ronda Rousey, she probably should have went to NXT, but but yeah, the majority of anybody that signed is going to NXT. That's the WWE machine. That's how they get the new wrestlers signed and used to the WWE style of wrestling, used to where the camera angles are, all of that. And then once they kind of get settled in that area, then they eventually move them up to the main roster. It's the WWE machine, and it's been like that since NXT was started. So I don't know why it's a hot topic today that they're going.
Is it surprising that the discussion is more of not just, oh, they chose WWE over AEW or anything like that? That, like, most people you would think would say they chose the Evil Empire and everything. Now it's, no, okay, they're glad that they went to WWE, but they just don't want them in NXT. I thought that the argument would have been more, no, they should have gone to AEW like Ricochet and everybody, and they'll just get hampered down by the WWE system. And like Anthony said, they'll teach them the WWE way and it won't be the same and all this.
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, I believe it's a fair statement to say that the general public, like if you stood outside of SmackDown tomorrow night and polled people on the way in, I'm guessing 3, maybe 4 to 5 people would be like, who? And maybe some of them have a relative. Sorry, just had a few people commenting. Pointed out Shelley's been there before. He worked with Kushida. We know that. But again, I mean, if Robert Roode and Drew McIntyre and Andrade, guys that could have jumped right into any level of professional wrestling, have to go through that process, I don't think MCMG should be any different. And by the time they get to the main roster, the hope is you have people chomping for it, like a Roxy now. People are like, she needs to move up.
But Jade didn't go through it.
Who?
Jade,
well, she's the exception, not the rule. It's like the bloodline, right? The Tongas didn't go through it. Jacob Fatu didn't.
Fair.
There's exceptions to the rules and circumstance. Now, Jade kind of went behind the scenes, but I think they were worried that, they're really protective of Jade. I think they see a long-term star with her. And again, nobody said they're going to be there forever. Like, this is like the end of their career.
And I also think this is a way, and this is just personal thinking, that this helps the TNA and NXT crossover. You have the biggest 2 stars that come out of TNA be on the opposite side for the first time, and then you can really heat up something with NXT versus TNA.
We could see Motor City Machine Guns versus the Rascals in NXT.
Weird. So weird.
And I'm all the way for it. Like, that's the thing, is everybody forgets, like Anthony said, and I mentioned it at the start of this is going to help your TNA NXT development, your relationship, and not to mention you're starting on a new network. They're front loading the shit out of NXT and everything. We were here on Tuesday, and literally, I know you, KJ, were trying to figure out, oh, that's booked on that show. No, that's booked in a week. That's booked in 2 weeks. That's booked 3 weeks. And everything, because they're front loading everything so much, because they're going to CW, they're going to Chicago, they're going to have CM Punk on this week, this next week. So why wouldn't they want to stack it with adding somebody like a Motor City Machine Guns onto there? If it's going to be treated more like this, it dances that line of developmental and third brand, it's got to have some stars.
Absolutely. And what bigger stars do you have than stars that were in TNA right now with a crossover? I think it's perfect.
And I think that's something that might get lost in this is like, yes, NXT's been known as a developmental brand, and we see stars like Kalani James coming into fruition and such. But there's also the higher end, like Sean Spears is down there right now. This is a great point. Like New Day went down there, Becky went down there, Corbin went down there. Like, look what Becky did for Bird Lady. Like, is Lyra even half the people that the half the wrestler we think she is? I know you're not a big fan, Nick, but is she half the wrestler if she didn't have that run with Becky?
Right.
Tiffy Time, another great example.
Yeah, 100%. And even like Corbin would have probably been gone out of the company or close to it if he hadn't gone down to NXT. Finn really, when he went down there and even had his whole title run, that really revamped his whole, main roster run when he came back.
Yeah, it's not just developmental, it's also a refresh. It's a refresh for some of the mainstay superstars in WWE. I don't understand why, like we said earlier, like this was a big topic today, because it shouldn't have been. I think it's a perfect fit for MCMG, and they can really, the tag team division down there, from what I'm seeing since I've started really watching, is really good. But to add them on top of it, like, you're really adding the icing on the cake at that point with 2 established wrestlers and an established tag team that's been around for so many years. But it just goes back to say, like, they've only been exposed to a certain amount of wrestling fans. WWE is a whole different oil machine, and they have to be exposed to them as well. Just look, if Hammerstone, somebody mentioned him in the comments, but Hammerstone was on NXT this week, barely cracked the reaction, right?
Yeah.
But he's been around for a very, very long time. He's not known to the WWE fans. So you got to bring those people in slowly so the WWE fans can really get used to him.
Yeah, and I think, again, I mean, as much as it is that developmental, they're doing arena shows. They're trying to sell 10, 11, 12,000 tickets. They're doing these CW shows. To me, like, that's the part of, like, we didn't bury them out, and if they are the team, like someone pointed out to me today, well, they're 20-year vets and they've influenced so much tag team wrestling. Facts. Where better to put them than when all these young tag teams are trying to figure their shit out? Like, to me, what a great fit, which we have, like, we are seeing with veterans now, like we pointed out. To me, this makes sense. And I think it's only going to help their launch into the main roster.
100%. It's, you see it with any sort of developmental talent, like you mentioned Tiffany. We've seen it with Braun Breaker. We're going to see it with Roxanne as well. But you introduce them. Yes, they are veterans and everything. No one's saying they're staying there for a long time. Everybody's acting like there's a life sentence or something. They'll be there for a month or two. Once the CW deal gets kind of evened out and we get complacent with that, then they'll probably bump up to the main roster. They'll probably have a WrestleMania match at this rate. If they show up around sooner rather than later, if they show up around the start of the CW deal, I bet you Motor City Machine Guns will be on the WrestleMania card as main roster talent, not NXT talent.
That's a great prediction. Yeah, I could see that working out. And I mean, again, we're all big fans of them. So, and I don't know. I think my sentiment online today a little bit with people was like, as wrestling fans, I just find it's one thing, we analyze, we critique what we see. We like some stuff, we don't. Fair enough. But I just feel like we find negatives in everything. Like, and if they didn't want to go to NXT, they wouldn't have signed the contract and they wouldn't be going to NXT. That's overlooked in all of this. Like, how could they demote them? Wait, I'm sure it was part of the negotiation. Like,
yeah, they didn't surprise him with it.
Right? Like, if any one of us three sign up for a new gig tomorrow, and then it's like you getting home and your significant other going, oh, I can't believe they sent you down to the freezer. You're like, I signed up for this job. Like, they knew what they did, right?
100%. It was fully part of what they signed with the contract and everything. And that's why, like I said, I find it more funny that this discussion is the issue that people take umbrage with than I thought the whole discourse would have been that they chose WWE over AEW. And thank you, Jake. Thank you, Charles. I think that said it earlier in Wrestling Proud. It's not till the 21st, but thank you.
Friday. Next weekend.
Yes, getting it in early. I appreciate it.
Never wrong with that. He's 33. Who's 33? Anyway.
Not I. Add another 3.
But yeah, I mean, again, this should be exciting. Is there any surprise that they didn't go to AEW? Like, I mean, we just saw Grizzled Young Vets pull up. They're getting involved now. We have a new tag team #1 contenders, which is a different debate altogether. But are you surprised that WWE was the landing spot towards or over AEW?
The longer it took, the longer I'm not. I'll say that. I still thought it was going to be a heavily potential option, but like we talked about, even I think it was Tuesday, even the longer that this has gone out, the quieter that this has gotten, the more and more likely it seems like they weren't going over there.
Right. And from Tony Khan's track record, when it's a free agent, he likes to snatch them up very quickly. And when they didn't get snatched up very quickly after leaving TNA, and the months went by, I was like, it might be more plausible for them to go to WWE at this point. Maybe that's where their landing page is at this point. So I can't wait to see it. I know everything is speculation and rumors, so I'm hopeful that this rumor is actually true and it happens, on the CW on October 1st.
Right.
All I know is they're stacking the hell out of these shows, and I understand. I think if I was a free agent, I don't know. I think I would trust the vision of the NXT, HBK Triple H combo of like the progression of my career. And I know they're not perfect and they've had flaws in the past. And I do think some fans really have like old WWE stuck in their head. I feel like this is a new vibe, and we're seeing like Vince would have never brought in MCMG. Vince would have never brought in the Fatus. Like Vince was a different animal and had no idea who any of these people were. Now we're dealing with a collective that understands these wrestlers. They're aware of them, they know of them, and they know what they bring to the table. And especially in a world where tag team division's hurting, this could be one of the best tag teams in the entire world coming soon.
Yeah, we're in a position where WWE is recognizing that there's wrestling outside of WWE, and I think with the Triple H being there, with Shawn Michaels being there, I think it'll just continue to expand. You can even hear it on commentary when they're, when Chelsea Green is wrestling and they're saying she's a former, TNA knockout, TNA champion, and things of that sort. Like WWE is now recognizing that there's wrestling outside of WWE. And that's all a part of Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
Don't worry, we can have this whole argument again when the Lucha Bros sign with WWE and they go to NXT and they have a stacked ass division and everything, and it'll be
right
the thing. It'll be the same discussion, it'll be the same issue and everything. But yeah, 100%. WWE is no longer under that regime or anything like that, because that's where we would have gotten, Tala Tonga and stuff like that popping up with signing the Fatus. But now with Motor City showing up there, with them acknowledging, with them having the TNA working agreement, with talent like Julia coming over, Stephanie Vacour, Delta, there's the talk, like I was joking about, them bringing over the Lucha Bros, that 100% it's now fully expanded to global wrestling instead of this is the focus, like it's the epicenter of wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, a really good way to put it. And again, I would argue realistically that NXT might have the best tag team division right now of the big three anyway. That, like, I mean, TNA's right there. WWE's main roster is hot and cold. But I mean, NXT, like we talked about it on Tuesday, like Fraxium's come a long way and they've really made believers out of us and they've had really amazing matches. The idea that they're going to get in the ring with these two, it's going to cook.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see if anything else comes in from the chat. People make me laugh as you guys are talking, but Funaki,
I perked up and just started looking over when I saw that comment, because I do have the game on, by the way.
Oh, okay. I bet you do.
100%.
Hell in a versus Funaki. I'm going to say I've enjoyed it this much in a very long time. I'm with you on that. 100%, Don. I think a lot of people feel that way, that, WWE kind of went stale for quite a while. So it feels new. It feels exciting. It feels vibrant.
It's back to, sorry, Anthony.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say it's back to the Attitude Era levels of wrestling, but more in just the sense of how prominent it is in pop culture and everything like that. Like we've had, Paul Walterhausen show up in, pro wrestling and everything like that. We're having USA go out of its way and make a whole big deal about everything going on with WWE this week. Like everything right now when it comes to wrestling is popping off on a big level, I'd say.
Yeah, and I have friends that like stopped watching for a period of time, just like you did, KJ, for a period of time when Vince was running things, and now they're back into it. Yeah. They're going to shows, they're buying merch, like it's real. Like this is a real thing. This definitely is a changing of the guard.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the chat said 90% of the chat voted that it was a good thing that they're going to NXT. So I mean, again, I think the broader audience gets this.
There we go.
All right.
Sensible talking from our chat.
There we go. They're making sense. They're still, again, not everybody agrees, but they don't have to. But little preview for tomorrow. SmackDown is going to be cooking. Rumor is now people are reporting it's confirmed that Roman's going to be there, but I haven't seen anything official from anybody official. What do we expect from tomorrow night? Like this should be insane, but is this all about Solo getting back to Roman?
Well, what is really crazy now is, I don't know if you guys seen it, but this is confirmed to actually open SmackDown.
I was about to talk about that. I saw it. This is kicking it off.
Yeah, this is kicking off SmackDown. So that begs the question: if this big match is opening SmackDown, what is closing SmackDown?
Okay. Okay.
That's the biggest talking point, I think, and Anthony nailed it there, of the fact that this is starting off the show it's now leaving the big question of, well, and then what? Because the most like I saw for some of the advertising material that USA Networks put out had Roman on it. So that's why they're saying that he's going to show up and da. And now, especially if this is kicking off the show, really kind of makes sense that that's, I don't want to say a guarantee, but strongly likely.
Do we see somebody bigger than Roman, like The Rock?
Oh,
Hold tight, but I think we could get Jimmy. Jimmy feels suspect.
Jimmy, historically bigger than Roman.
no, not bigger, but I do think Jimmy's a possibility. The Rock, I think we're not ready for The Rock in this yet. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It'd be really interesting how Dwayne fits into this, especially with the title match. Like, if he does he show up after Cody beats Solo clean? Well, if you were there, then why didn't you help me, cousin? All of that shit. Like, him shoehorning right now feels a little forced, it'd be a huge pop. It'd be, debut on USA Network and everything like that. But with it being the title match, with it being especially even a cage match, like, where do you slot him in?
That's a good question.
That's a real good question.
I think you could get Jimmy, and you get like Jimmy shows up and fucks with, and you get obviously you're gonna get the bloodline that shows up and surrounds the cage, and then you should have Jimmy that probably shows up. Maybe you get a Jay, I doubt it, but probably you get a Jimmy, and then you get like a Roman that shows up and just kind of lays waste to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I like. I mean, I highly anticipate, this match will start off pretty one-on-one. And then at some point, here come the bloodline. It looks all, doom and gloom for Cody. And then Jimmy. And then Jimmy, they're still outnumbered. And then the Tribal Chiefs music comes on. He's a bit of an equalizer. Again, I could see it playing out like that, but I assumed it would be at the end of the show. Little Jimmy, not Little Jimmy, Big Jimmy.
Little Jimmy's out there helping out R-Truth do his best Shannon Sharp impression. But do we get a Paul Heyman appearance or anything like that?
I'm dying for Paul to come back.
Yeah, I didn't think about Paul Heyman coming back. We could get a Paul Heyman appearance here. Season premiere of SmackDown. I think Paul Heyman returning is perfect at this point. It still just begs the question: what do we slot in that main event? Because we really thought this was going to be the main event.
Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso taking on Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu in a tag team match.
Well, is the tag team? I thought there was. Now I'm just pulling it up real quick to double check, but I thought they had announced the tag team match. And again, I just don't know how you. I just assumed that this was going to end the show, but there's got to be more to it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and again, especially when it's Triple H is the tweet that I saw him doing a whole video talking about how this is going to kick off the show. So.
What could be the main event, and it almost slipped my mind real quick, but KO has a mystery partner, and that mystery partner could not be seen until the end of the night.
Okay.
A guy
maybe
he's got history with Theory.
Then you really could almost rule out Roman, because would you have Roman, like, do you have Roman start off there and then not follow up on anything throughout the rest of the show?
You might thread it, but I don't know. I mean, again, I think that, whatever happens with the bloodline is going to kind of, especially if it's opening the show, I don't know if it'll carry all the way through, but just trying to think of, based on what we know now, that could be the main event, that tag team match. And just because of the surprise pop of whoever joins KO is a big deal.
Of course, KJ has inside information on KO. They're brothers. I want to say twins.
I got Irish twins. We're 10 months apart. Which I got to keep pointing out to everybody, because most people call me old, except for being a kid. But yeah, no, very interesting that this is opening the show. It should be exciting. We will be here live for that tomorrow, folks. And yeah, I'm really curious now how this all transpires and how this all plays out. What about the thought, like, a lot of people, again, the IWC being the IWC, and you can't have good things. A lot of people were like, Tonga, and Jacob show up at NXT, run shot, and see, they don't need Solo. They're better without Solo.
I mean, you saw him for what, a minute or two in the ring? Like, that's a storyline. A faction does not get made over 3 minutes at most. I know that's actually apropos to say with, 3-minute warning being, the former Samoans and everything. But yeah, like I don't get how you got how anyone even gets to that argument at that point. You didn't see him cut a promo. You just saw him show up and beat people up.
Yeah.
And beat people up that they're currently in the story with right now. So
right.
Yeah. And I mean, I pointed out to a few people, like, you got to keep in mind that wasn't plan A. That was plan B. Rascals was plan A. So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that was a bit of an audible for them. And then you're like, okay, we're keeping a big name. Like the Street Profits would help, soften the blow of Rascals not being there. But how do we get out of this? The Street Profits aren't running away with the NXT title. Braxium probably shouldn't beat the Street Profits. I got a plan. Bring in the guys that they're feuding with.
Yeah, absolutely. That was plan B, and they had to think quick on their feet since the Rascals were not going to be there. And then they turned that into its own side story because we get the second part at the CW episode. But yeah, it's crazy right now that people would even think that, like, they showed up to be the interference for a story that they're currently in. So I don't know. People think outside the box too much a little bit.
Well, and I mean, Jacob is fantastic, and clearly he's going to be a long-term player here for WWE and everything. So I guess in that aspect of, if there was no Solo involved in it, if it was just Jacob as leader, I could see it. But as you and I, KJ, have gone back and forth about of who's really the leader, who's more the important one out of the two, right now it is Solo Sikoa. Right now, Solo is the connection to the original bloodline. Yeah. He is the connection to Roman. He's that synapse that branches everything together here. So that needs to exist. He needs to be the leader. And it's so creepy and fitting seeing Jacob Fatu out there with like, I love you, Solo. You are my double teeth. And just looking like a fucking scary ass guard dog. Like, I don't want to fuck with you because I got to get through him to get to you.
And it's funny because if you turn the clock back a little while ago, there was a lot of people who were like, give Solo the belt, forget Robin, Solo's so much better. Now Solo's the guy, and they're like, Solo sucks, give it to Jacob. No, you give Jacob the belt and be like, Jacob sucks, give it to fucking Tongaleo. Like,
it won't be Tomatonga.
What can we do?
Tongaloa, sorry.
Jimmy is going to cost Jay his title shot against Braun Breaker. I really don't think so.
No, I think that could honestly be like a Dom Mysterio does that.
Oh, really? Dom getting...
If there's going to be someone that interferes and costs him it would be something like that. I think he could honestly lose it outright. But I think if there's going to be someone that interferes and costs him the match, it's not going to be Jimmy. They're trying to... That's still the Avengers that you need to assemble there. So it would be, to me, Dom, because he's the one so actively in a storyline right now with Jay a bit because of the Rhea Liv thing.
That makes more sense. That it could definitely be Dom to do that. I guess where we're headed to at Survivor Series, are we still going to get that bloodline versus bloodline? How do we get Jay back to the bloodline?
That's the interesting part. That really is. Like, it would just kind of have to happen. Like, I don't know. Like, is it a case of they're just getting beat up and Jay just happened to be there? Like, if it... like out of Bad Blood where, both rosters are in the building kind of thing.
If you bring back Heyman, you have him be the advocate that has the visitors pass and everything. And he has to sit there and talk to Jay. That's the thing is, to me, Heyman is going to be any Marvel nerd or anything like that. Agent Coulson from S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything that brought the Avengers together in the first Avengers movie. That's going to be Heyman in this shit. He's gonna be he's the Nick Fury of this bullshit almost. He's gonna get Roman there, obviously, then he'll bring Jimmy back or vice versa, whatever, because they've already got that, and then he'll show up with his visitors pass on Monday Night Raw, and he brings in Jimmy or Jay back, and they have it out between Jay and Jimmy and all of that, and then maybe he brings in someone else to even the numbers, or do we bring back also a Sami Zayn? That'll be that little connection there. He's going to be the linchpin in this, I think.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you might be right, because they did kind of tease that some months back when the bloodline was on Raw, and I think Jay had just won his match or something, and it was backstage, and they were crossing paths, and Paul Heyman looked at Jay and was like, don't say anything. Like that was when the bloodline was really going crazy. So yeah, you might be right there. He's the liaison for Jimmy, Jay, and Roman. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, having that's why he's the wise man. He sees the bigger picture. He's playing chess when others are playing checkers.
Absolutely. That's why he's brought in. And it's a callback to when he would show up in YC on a Raw and everything, when Bloodline's a SmackDown faction and everything. Oh, I got the visitor's pass on my phone. So see, right. I can be here. And that's his way of. Now, do you think, and I know we're kind of going off topic here, but do you think it's Sammy that helps even the numbers, or do they bring in Hikuleo, or they bring in the Usos' fourth brother, I think at this point, or another Samoan family member?
Well, we still haven't saw Lance. We still haven't seen Hikuleo, who apparently signed a year ago. Like, where are all the
thing? It's probably been like 3 months, but in the time of wrestling, it feels like a year.
Yeah.
I think for me, like if we are going to do Bloodline versus Bloodline, I feel like Sammy has to be the one because he was there from the beginning, right? I feel like that's more of the logical choice here for it to be Sammy, because he's been there for the very, very start, all the way up to the betrayer at Royal Rumble and things of that sort. So I think it has to be Sammy.
Yeah, I don't think any of us see Sammy beating Gunther, as much as that's going to be a fun match and run that back. But I don't think Gunther's losing to Sammy. I think if there was a scenario where the good guys are being outnumbered and Sammy's music hits and everybody has that like, oh shit, the band's back together, I think that's a mega pop.
The OG Bloodline with Sammy out there just trying to crack everybody and break everybody, I think is fantastic. And with how, I don't want to say it soon because it's still like November, December. When's Survivor Series this year?
End of November.
End of November, sorry.
So do we start needing to plant the seeds here to kind of bring these people together here sooner rather than later here? If this is the MCU, we need, Iron Man 1 here pretty soon.
Well, I think what WWE does pretty well is like we're building towards Bloodline, and then the next thing will kind of pivot in through. So I think as we get closer to Bloodline, it might start heating up, and then coming out of Bloodline, Bad Blood. I think then it really goes into hyper gear where you got a few weeks to kind of put all the pieces together. That's what I think the plan would be. I think.
Fair enough.
Well, that being said, speaking of Bad Blood, official as of Monday, CM Punk taking on Drew McIntyre. We're highly anticipated. We waited for this. We're assuming this is the blow-off. Are we excited about this decision?
100%. This makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, if you're going to end this storyline, I think it has to be Hell in a Cell. The first match was kind of a straight up one-on-one with the special guest referee of Seth Rollins. Then we had the phenomenal strap match. I thought that was a really good strap match. And then you got to end it. You got to end it at Bad Blood in Hell in a Cell. I think this is perfect. Right choice, right call. Hopefully it's the main event of the pay-per-view, to be honest.
I mean, it'd be hard not to be if this is,
right.
Especially if it's the only Hell in a Cell. I still kind of want Liv and Rhea to go Hell in a Cell.
That ends the feud.
What ends the what feud?
To me, if you put it in a Hell in a Cell, it's got to end the feud. I don't know how you follow it up afterwards with that. Like, I get that we would still want Liv and everything. I'm saying the stipulation itself is a feud ender. That's why I hear you with the idea. But this is why, to me, Drew and CM Punk work so well with this, because
it's
the story's built to the stipulation versus the stipulation just gets shoehorned with a feud here. This feels like the ultimate culmination of, fuck it, this is the most diabolical, vile, to quote JR, match in WWE history. So this should be the ultimate place where this ends. If you do that with Liv and Rhea, you've got to end the feud there, because what do you follow it up with?
Yeah, the only thing, and I agree with you like 90%. The only thing I could think of them trying to do, you're right, you would never be able to culminate it. The only help is if you put them in that kind of avenue, it opens the door for Dom and other things to happen, or a Raquel to return. Now Rhea's still chasing them, but now there's this added, because that opens the door for the the no DQ, the cheating, the helping. That's the way to maybe save Liv. But then again, if they do, at Survivor Series, they just do a straight up one-on-one, did they already peak in a cell?
Yeah, because I mean, even if you do like a last woman standing, that's where you'd really expect to get all the cheating and the fucking chicanery and all of that.
Yeah.
But
you can even do here if you wanted to put any type of stipulation on it, because I do think a stipulation should be placed on this match. You could even do a street fight or something with them at Bad Blood.
True. Yeah.
You could do a cage match and just make sure there's no syringes and cinder blocks nearby.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I mean, again, and you're probably not going to do a cage match and the Hell in a Cell both in the same one. But I 100% like if there's got to be an out for Liv, because I'm not convinced that Rhea's getting that belt back yet. I think the chase has been too fun. I think the fact that like Liv keeps slipping through her fingers has made this very entertaining. And it doesn't matter how much Dom and Liv get beat up. They show up the next week and they get their heat right back. Like, we still hate them.
Absolutely.
On an interesting note, with this being the topic brought up, with it being the Drew and CM Punk match, is it a tell though that this is what we've all been expecting? We've all wanted. Ever since Bad Blood was announced, we thought that this is where it was going. Once CM Punk even mentioned a Hell in a Cell match in a press conference, we're like, oh, that's a tell. That's a tell. We're going there at some point here. So that this is just, we're accepted. We're excited for this. We love this. We want to see it. Now, what else can we add on to this card? What else can we put in a cell?
Right. I said you only book like 4 or 5 matches for your pay-per-view. Put them all in the cell. Screw it. But a little bit of a joke. No, and I think sometimes this is an example of, if the fan base is following the story, this is this has been foreshadowed. So to not give us this would have almost been a bit of a letdown, because again, like you bring up the Marvel universe, like it builds to that crescendo, like, oh, it's Endgame now. We're in Endgame now, right? Like that's how this feels.
100%. Who do you have early prediction to win this match?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. It's awesome.
I'm gonna take CM Punk. I've been seeing Punk this entire feud, and I'm not changing it because Drew.
Do you have your limited edition WWE shop bracelet before they ran out, before they realized we probably shouldn't fuck over like a teenage girl for a bracelet?
Did you see they relaunched the bracelet, but now it says just CM Punk? It doesn't say.
No, I didn't see. I saw them do it and then took it down. You motherfucker!
Wow.
So now there's CM Punk bracelets, but 88% of the chat saying Drew versus Punk is a good thing. They're excited for it. So a small pocket don't care or don't like it. That's beautiful.
I was going to say, speaking of things that you should go and get, that's why I was trying to do the shameless merch plug and everything, folks.
Right.
I'm up here looking like I've got no neck. We do have the monster t-shirts and everything as well out there, and mine just came in the mail yesterday. 100%. So go and get yours. It's the finest cotton, hand sewn in Saudi Arabia and everything like that.
I didn't even know that.
No, I was just going with the shit. No one was stopping me, so I just kept going.
I'm taking Drew. I'm taking Drew on this one. I think this is a Drew beats Punk. Punk will still be Punk, and Punk can, you can have that like a dejected Punk, and then somebody gets on his nerves, and now we're off and running with a Punk in another direction. But I just feel like Drew deserves to go back after that belt. And again, Drew Gunther has a nice ring to it in the future. I don't know. Drew, again, we thought WrestleMania was Drew's moment. He finally got that belt. I think he gets rid of Punk. Maybe Punk turns his attention to Seth, because that's still waiting in the wings. And then Drew goes on to challenge for a title.
I forgot about Seth. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
This has so many ways it can go because of the Seth angle, because Punk's already sat there and tried to, stake his claim to go after Gunther. Drew versus Gunther sounds fantastic if that's the way they go with it. I've heard the rumored speculation that Wyatt's next feud is with Drew. I don't know how much I buy into that or how much that makes sense, but if that were to happen or to kick off, could it be to where they show up and they cost Drew the match? This is almost feels like, I know I've been ride or die with Drew with all this. This feud keeps getting more and more like a goddamn coin flip at this point, especially if this is the payoff, because both men almost need it. Both men come out looking great either way. It's super hard to call because there's 10 different ways you could go out of this. Not yet. Now that you brought it up, I'm definitely not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very interesting. They can really go either way. Will it be an example of Punk kind of putting, pole vaulting or putting Drew over and letting Drew continue the run that Drew's on? Or again, Punk's a superstar. Punk, heels is coming back, folks, which I can't wait. Punk could win this and be the guy.
I think the biggest question is who's hurt more by the loss? Is Drew hurt more by losing to Punk to an extent of you're still supposed to be the younger guy? You already looked like a fool with your fucked up cash in and everything. You just came off of losing the strap match, versus Punk's CM Punk. We know he's still kind of the Logan in this story. Still got the gray and the beard now and everything like that. So.
Yeah.
He can almost take it out and you're still CM Punk at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm still going with CM Punk, but I didn't think about that.
I'm just happy that you were the attorney that I had to face in our court case, for CM Punk and everything. Right. And then now you're fully on the fucking bandwagon out here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Anthony, I'm gonna let you jump on this comment here real quick from Taylor.
They made Jordan Grace look like a jobber against. That's confusing. Wouldn't it be so Ruka looking like the jobber if Jordan Grace retained actually they didn't finish it out, but she technically retained the title, and it was a really good match. And I actually talked about this on Twitter that Sol Ruka, out of all of the challengers that Jordan Grace has had since she's done the open challenges with the NXT superstars, Sol Ruka was the best looking one out of all of them. And Jordan Grace makes anybody she steps in that ring with look good. Sol Ruka looked really, really good on Tuesday, and I actually want them to run that match back again with a definite winner. That's how good that match was.
There you go, Nick.
But aren't you excited for Wendy Chu?
We're gonna get there, but yes, we are. And it's I love Rosemary too, though. I don't want to overlook.
I love Rosemary. Wendy Chu.
Sol Ruka, I thought looked great. I think she's got a lot of upside. We joke about the blonde factory that is the WWE at times. Sol doesn't feel like one of the other girls, like another, she feels like she got a different vibe, a different flavor.
Yeah, she's Sheryl Crow.
In the chat's killing me right now. Anthony's got one for Anthony.
Anthony action, folks.
More sense to have it 3-stage of hell because that match is more synonymous with Bad Blood or Judgment than the Hell in the Cell. I thought the Hell in the Cell was synonymous with Bad Blood.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I think it's only been 3 Bad Bloods in history, and all of them had featured in Hell in the Cell match. So I think it's Hell in the Cell here.
The Hell in a Cell debuted at Bad Blood. And that was Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and that's the debut of That's Gotta Be Kane. That's Gotta Be Kane.
Right.
Infamous door rip heard around the world. People bring up the 3 stages of hell a lot. I just don't ever think they're it's got to be if you run back Drew and Punk, maybe that's the only thing left to do. But they tend not to go it's not something we ever see anymore.
But that's what makes it kind of on that holiest of grails and everything, because it was the 3 stages. Was it Austin Rock or was it Austin Hunter?
Austin.
I think it was Austin Hunter.
It feels Austin Hunter.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that's one of those. That's a Broadway match. You're going a full hour plus and everything, and there's not. I'll say this politely. I don't know if there's a ton of guys right now that could really do that and do that well.
Yeah.
So that's you're saving yourself. And again, we'll talk about taking unnecessary bumps and unnecessary safety risks and everything like that. If you don't need the fucking gimmicks and shit, if I couldn't time that perfectly, if I tried, taking unnecessary bumps and taking miles off of your career just to fucking do a gimmick isn't the best case scenario.
No, it's not really their MO anymore in 2024. It's about longevity. It's about keeping your athletes at the best condition possible, right?
No, absolutely. And this is nonstop since Saturday. What was it? All Out was Saturday, and this has been nonstop talking on Twitter in the IWC about this, and I quite frankly am on the thing where it just didn't need to happen. I'm on that end. I don't think it was necessary. I don't think I actually turned it off right after the chair shot. I didn't see who won until it was on Twitter. It just was like I don't this was not for me. It wasn't. And that's why I didn't even watch Dynamite. I was like, I think I might just need to take a step back from AEW. That was a bit much. And then at the beginning, I don't even know if we're gonna talking about that tonight, but at the beginning with the snot, that was just like, you know what? I can't. Is this wrestling or is this let's do the most craziest thing to get people talking on social media? I don't know.
You know what, Anthony? You just don't get it, my guy. That's what it is. You just don't get it.
Yes.
It's not for you then. If you don't like it, then you don't need to be watching it. That's a great fucking message, by the way, to send when you're trying to get viewers and you're struggling for a fucking audience and you're struggling to get a TV deal and everything. Well, they're saying for you then. Fine. I guess it fucking ain't then. And a lot of other people have walked out with it too. So, yeah. Sorry, just I had to.
No, that's why, and again, like this topic, and this is one of my beefs, and I talked about it last night, is again, when you say, well, I don't like it, and this is why I don't like it, the response isn't like 9 times out of 10. And this mostly happens with that AEW fan base. Like if I say something online about like, I don't like the bloodline, somebody will come back and say something. But generally it's like, well, the bloodline's doing really good. And Solo's doing better than Roman. Great, fine. We can move on. But when I say like, well, blood and, the cage match at All Out, what the hell are they doing? The answer is you're dumb, you're fat, you're ugly, you need a tampon.
That's the nice ones then. It's normally like, go nice yourself, like, why don't you auto like all of this just insane shit with this. Like, oh my God. Yeah, like that's really how you compel people over to your argument of like, I don't like this. I don't know if really the guy should have hocked Tui to fucking loogie in the guy's face just unnecessarily during a match and then gave him Botox for no reason. Like it's just and that had nothing there was no follow-up on that fucking spot in that match. And even worse, there was no follow-up on it on the show. On nothing on Wednesday, followed up on that, followed up on MJF getting taken out. None of that.
Adam Page cut a really good promo last night. It was one of the only things I really liked about the show. Dope has a good point here. Dope Dubs. I like how the match got everyone talking. So that a lot has been brought up about that, and that's the hope that it makes it worth talking about. But there is that cringe level where you kind of cross over of like we're talking about it, but it's not in a good way. Not enough that do a risk reward. And my biggest beef, and people kind of ignored this when I explained it to them online and shat on me instead of listening. I just didn't feel like the match was that intense, like that the match was that exciting. It wasn't like this crazy intense back and forth cage match. Then he had to resort to like any means necessary. It was very much like, okay, I drop you on a cinder block, and I'll go over and I'll get a stapler, and then I'll but we watched it live. Like it was very monotonous, very strategic, like methodical, and it didn't have that visceral feel to it.
It didn't feel like a match. I love MDB's comment here. If that Botox spot was buttocks. Yeah, but it didn't feel like any sort of a match. It felt like literally just I throw you into the cage, and then you throw me into the cage, and then I kind of drop you barely on a cinder block and scratch your back, and then I do the same to you. Like, and it's not, we don't like violence, we don't like blood, guts, gore, or anything like that, or go that way when it comes to wrestling. We sit there and watch plenty of GCW shows, getting XPW, everything else like that. And to me, the Texas Death Match was significantly miles ahead of this match, and I was hoping for them to outdo that match. I remember starting off the show, we wanted to damn near start a prayer circle that both of these men return home safely to their wives, their families and everything, that they leave the ring the same way they entered it and everything, because God only knows what they were going to do to each other after we set houses on fire. And then we had the Texas Death Match before. That's now the pinnacle of that whole fucking feud. That's the best thing they've done. That was more graphic than this shit, honestly, of when you're doing the Triple H spot with the grown man's blood in your mouth and everything. That's more graphic. but it actually fit the story. It fit the match. It had everything. The psychology all somehow fucking worked a bit better than just randomly, I stick you in the chin, I fucking cloud you with a steel chair. 1, 2, 3, we're out of here. What?
There's a person on TikTok today that I saw going around about like kayfabe's still alive because people believe the chair shot, and Sean Ross Sapp broke it down of like they loosen the screws and it's like getting hit with a cooking sheet. Okay, but what it led to, again, fine. Let's say the chair shot didn't hurt. It was just exciting. It sounded hard. It sounded loud. And maybe like I didn't know that they were sitting there sanding down a chair. I still don't believe that. Loosening the screws.
Whittling it down, Meltzer in his fucking shitty one-room desk office there. Dude.
Who's in charge of that job? Who like is Cutler out back grinding down chairs? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? But that leads to a referee stoppage in an unsanctioned lights out match. So if you're gonna do it, make it make sense. Put all the dots together. That okay, you knocked him out, he's out cold, and then you walk away. But it was a referee stoppage. So not even your own storytelling within the match made sense. And it felt like you just clubbed him in. Like you just did work. Like the chair shot wasn't the most egregious thing. There was other big spots like dropping him on a cinder block. That didn't end the match. But the chair shot does. So we're kind of like stuck as fans. Like what is worthy of killing somebody and what isn't?
I feel like every time you mention someone from TikTok, I obviously know who you're talking about because you do the impersonation very well. But
that's good because I don't.
I feel bad. I don't have any personal. Some of the takes blow my mind.
But yeah, it just the match didn't give any type of violence to warrant the ending, right?
Yeah.
The cinder block thing I thought was just a little outrageous, and I don't know who mentioned it. It might have been Boston that mentioned PCO taking the spot with the cinder blocks in Impact. I was there live, and he was power bombed on like 5 or 6. It was stacked cinder blocks, right? Swerve took one big cinder block to his back. One wrong slip up right there, the man could have been paralyzed. It's things of that go through my mind of why WWE doesn't do things like this anymore. And it's not a bad thing when wrestling fans like us want to care about the wrestler's health, right? And that's the main thing here. And a lot of the stuff that happened in that match, I personally feel like it was unnecessary. That's just me.
Yeah, 100%. So much of that match was unnecessary because you nailed it on the head right there, Anthony. Honestly, with that last chair shot made no sense to the rest of the context of that match outside of, I guess nothing else is going to fucking kill you. But there was nothing that built up to that. Like normally you'll get that in a match of a last man standing, any sort of crazy hardcore. You saw it we're going old school matches with Triple H, I guess. So Triple H and Mick Foley when they had their street fight at Royal Rumble. When it was Cactus, to where it kept going and kept going and kept going, and nothing would put either man away and everything. Yeah. Then you get a shot like that. That's where that makes sense. Versus you've already sat there and just drugged this man through the fucking money. You sat there and could hold this man up and randomly just pluck him in the chin and everything, or the cheek and everything, which again made no fucking sense, had no context to anything, and had no follow-up on anything. So it was just there for fucking body horror, shock and awe bullshit, which if you're going to just push the envelope like that, then it gets to like what you talked about of like the Father James Mitchell spot of you're just doing shit to do shit just to push the edge. And guess what? At some point that edge is going to push back. And that's where we got PG WWE, because they pushed the edge and pushed the edge and pushed the edge. Yeah. Right. Like you can fuck off with your TV deals and shit with this now, because no company is going to sit there and say, hey, I want to sign this up and have this on my fucking programming.
And I think when it comes to the needle spot, and I don't agree with the needle spot regardless, but the match was not intense enough to have that needle spot. If you would have put in a needle spot in a match in any time period, and I'm only saying this because I've been watching WWE Rivals over the past couple of days, but the Mankind Undertaker Hell in a Cell, that was so intense. If you wanted to put a needle spot in there, because both guys wouldn't stay down for anything at any point in that Hell in a Cell match, it would have made sense, right? But I don't agree with the needle spot regardless, but it didn't make sense. It didn't fit, and it's kind of gross, to be honest. So I don't know.
Yeah. Like because of the way the match ended, if you had done if those two guys were intensely going back and forth, throwing punches, like I think we talked about it the night of like how many punches got thrown, like how many back and like, but if there was this very heated exchange and both guys are sweating and bleeding and like they can barely, and that's what we see with a GCW, right? Like, oh my God. And then Paige reaches back and grabs a chair and out of desperation drills him with it and Swerve's pancake. I could get behind that. I don't love the head chair shots, but the wrestlers sign up, they get paid big money, they can mitigate their own risk. So let's say they agreed to it, fine. I don't love it, but that's on you. But at least then you were like, holy shit, there was such a heated battle that, Paige went to last-ditch efforts. And a lot of AEW fans over the last few days shows how deranged and but it was just Swerve on his knees. It was like reliving, it was like watching Passion of the Christ of he was done. Like, you didn't need to go, Swerve didn't stand up. He was cognizant. He didn't smack his hand away. There was no battle. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And he fought him off and stuck him with the needle. It was just like, okay, go ahead. Like,
but even if you did that and made it to where Swerve eventually just accepted his fate of one of those of like, I guess I can't put you away. If the battle that led to that moment meant fuck and all, that's really what is the separation here, because we don't exactly hate the spot. Should they have done it differently? Yes. But like you said, I guess you signed up to scramble your own brains. I can't stop you from doing that if you choose to. You do you, boo-boo. But we've watched enough deathmatch wrestling and everything with that's not how you even tell a story or anything. When it comes to this style of a match, you could sit there and have this be that back and forth. If it's going to be neither man can put either man away, so Hangman just finally gets the last killing blow, or like you said, if it's Passion of the Christ and Swerves out there and just accepts his fate and just eats the shot. But there was the build up to it. Failed this whole spot, failed this whole match, everything, failed this pay-per-view. Like this is a pay-per-view of two halves. The main event of this pay-per-view realistically was Ospreay versus Pac, because everything after that was down fucking hill.
And y'all argued about that for like 30 minutes, and that was the coolest part of that.
During half the match, it was fucking hilarious. Yeah, again, I'm really, and then like we go into last night and everything's just scrambled eggs. Something I did want to get your take on, because I was here live last night. Daniel Bryan gets choked out with and again, maybe that's part of the problem. It was like, right before we see a needle spot. And by the way, Britt Baker DMD should be upset that anybody, like, why has she not got to stick a needle in someone's mouth? She's the only one fucking trained to do it and allowed to do it. Why all of a sudden is Hangman Page putting needles in people's mouths? Why is that not DMD's gimmick?
Yeah.
But Danielson, right before that, gets suffocated with a bag. Another spot that's a little uncomfortable for people. And I didn't think it was necessary. You could have put him in chokehold. Mr. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master grappler Moxley could have given him a kacha-hacha-me and everybody would have been fine. But they use a plastic bag to go over the top again. It's about the shock value. They've not even shown that replay on any of their outlets because it was so graphic. It's not on their YouTube. It's not on their social media. But now,
do you think that's a ploy to get people to try and go back and rewatch it, what have you, or anything? But it's also like it was a little disgusting of a spot to do. Like, you didn't need to do it. You had the fucking like the sternum rub and shit and everything afterwards was a little like scary to me.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, like, it took me back to when the Nexus invaded WWE and Daniel Bryan did the exact same spot without the bag.
He did the belt. He did the belt on Justin Roberts.
He got fired because of it, right?
Yeah, because it wasn't allowed. So what? Justin Roberts should have been with the one with the bag up there on Danielson's head. I'm gonna get my payback, bitch.
It was like, why was that necessary to kind of do that here? Like, I don't know. I thought the whole entire pay-per-view, like, there was a lot of things that was like, I don't know why I'm still watching this.
How do we feel though about even Moxley's whole faction? Because MDB says this, and I kind of agree with it. It is more a little bit like the Whitepool Combat Club. Little bit. It is very much they're leaning in a certain way here, and it feels a little weird.
The booking is baffling me. It really is baffling me. You and I think all three of us have actually talked. The idea that Nigel came back at All In, and I thought before Daniel retires, Daniel, Nigel, two old rivals, two old friends, that match needs to happen. But I didn't think it was going to happen at the expense of Darby, who now has to defend his title shot against someone else. And the reason they gave, and even on the poster, even on this picture below me, which you can't see because I erased it, it says, if Danielson can go. Well, if Danielson's healthy enough to fight, why would he not be contractually obligated, kayfabe, to fight Darby? So why would Darby lose out on a title shot, but Nigel 20 minutes later comes out and challenges this guy who's been indisposed, according to Moxley, then get the title shot? Like, none of this makes sense. This hashtag scrambled eggs.
This is a puzzle wrapped in an enigma encased in a ball of shit, honestly, at this point, because like Nigel versus Danielson, you need more than a week to sit there and really get me into this. Like, bring back, I want this story to mean so much. This is 15 years since they've had a fucking match again against each other and everything. And you and I, KJ, specifically, have talked about this. I think it was during All In when he actually returned and everything, of him versus Danielson could be Danielson's last match, almost should be his last match. Do that at, like, say, a Wrestle Dream. You give it, that's the whole send-off after he's lost the title. One more time for good old sake of, Rocky and Apollo, ding, ding, go at it and everything. Because what's the follow-up here? Nigel's the commentator. It's not like he's going to go fully back in ring, potentially. And Danielson is on the back nine here. We know he's got about 8 holes left at most. And then the whole Darby Moxley thing, just why the fuck did we get there? Like you said, if Danielson can compete in a match, then why are we going to have Darby give up his shot, which Moxley's whole motive is even kind of fucking weird and everything. Like, I don't get fully his shit. Like, I don't get the Darby Moxley thing, which then expounds upon the Danielson Nigel thing, which I don't get, but that's the one I like and want to see. And I don't want to see the other one.
Yeah, well, but based on what we got at All Out, you would assume that Wednesday, the big topic would be Moxley Danielson, not Danielson Nigel, Darby Moxley. Like, it would be like Drew McIntyre kicks the living shit out of Punk, which we saw the other night, and then Pierce comes out this Monday and says, you're going to fight fucking Santos Escobar at Bad Blood. Why? Why is there not a continuity to that?
I don't know. Nothing really makes sense. Nothing makes sense when you watch Dynamite. That's why, like, there's matches and then they try to fit storylines in between that don't really connect or don't really make sense. And then when you finally find something that you think is going to be a storyline, they pivot and go somewhere else. And you're like, this is completely confusing at this point.
They've booked themselves into a corner with naming so many challengers ahead of time. Like, we still have Christian that could show up at any point and fuck everything up, like he almost did at All Out. Well, like, that's the thing, is Dynamite at Grand Slam at the end of Danielson versus Nigel, which I don't believe is a world title match, because we still don't know if Danielson's going to make it. So then why the fuck are we booking the match and throwing it out there? But I digress. But you've got Christian lined up as a title shot. You've got Darby clearly lined up as a title shot, and he's deciding to defend it against Moxley. Like, if I'm Darby, like, no, fuck you. Like, if he's gonna fight, I'm gonna fucking face him. Like, what are we doing here?
Like, if Moxley had shown up and beat the shit out of Darby and said to Darby, you don't deserve a title shot, and it becomes like a grudge match between them two, I could kind of get behind that. Like, that's my alternative suggestion. Of, like, Moxley's just impeding, but Moxley's reasoning and bad writing on their part of Moxley saying Danielson can't wrestle at Grand Slam, so I'm gonna wrestle you. And then Nigel comes out and says, American coward, are you gonna fight me? Wait, what? Did you not listen?
Right, but why is Moxley going? Like, why did Moxley explain why he was going after Danielson and why he doesn't want to try and follow up with that or anything? Like, I know he's had this weird infatuation with Darby. I guess he wants to ask him if he likes turtles or not. But it's just, I had to fit it in somewhere. But it's so stupid to me of like, why is Moxley going at Darby and not at Danielson, who he was just choking out like literally a couple days ago?
Well, the comment that this is not your company anymore, Moxley going after the top guy in the company and taking him out makes a lot of sense. But then to go after, like, this whole thing with Darby doesn't make, like, it doesn't add to the, like, you want that continuity. Like, again, I hate to use the example, but I think it's the best storyline in 2024. Drew and Punk, like, we haven't seen a whole lot of side shimmies. Even Seth got involved and then they got him out of the way. Right back to Drew. Like, it wasn't like this. We went down like 2 months of a build for Punk and Seth and forgot Drew was there. So again, the storytelling just kind of lacks here, and it really does lack any kind of continuity and sensibility.
Right. I like Keyshawn here saying if you tell that to journalists again, Meltzer, it doesn't make sense. They will say you don't watch the product. No, we watch all of the product. We watch more than most people watch the product. Honestly,
everybody.
Yeah, I don't even see people do Dynamite anymore. Live stream Dynamite. I really only see you guys do it. So yeah, I don't know. We are only the ones doing it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, we, not you. We.
Yeah, we. That's why I had to. I switched it the second time. I said
we. And again, that's where I think we've earned our equity with our fan base, and then the wonderful people that come to this chat is they know, like, there's a guys out there that, you know, will wear AEW swag for all their fucking streams, but they don't watch Rampage, they don't watch Collision, they don't watch TNA, they don't watch GCW, they don't watch any of the other shows, and then think they're a fucking expert and start running their mouth. And again, it blows my mind of that's almost like the go-to of like, well, clearly you're not watching the show. No, I'm adamantly watching the show.
We literally have proof we're watching it. We have it documented so that way we can show that we're speaking from a place of at least somewhat of knowledge here. Of we have clearly watched it. It is documented.
Yeah, we have receipts, folks.
Exactly.
First one from Damien. The other match that we know is going to happen at Grand Slam, highly unexpected. I'm curious how either one of you feel about this one as far as Ospreay and Fletcher become number one contenders.
It should have been the Outrunners.
Yes! Let's go!
I do know what Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher have, you know, been a tag team before, but what is AEW's deal with putting 2 titles on everybody? Because I don't get it. Like, Ospreay is already holding the
5 titles, but we book 5 people. So everybody's got to do like triple the job here.
Okay.
Think about that's why we have the issue with the tag team division as it is as a whole. With it's the Young Bucks, it is FTR, and it's the Acclaim. There is 3 tag teams that AEW features at all. And I thought with this Grand Slam in whatever the fuck Battle Royal to determine a number one contender, you would have actually found a tag team or so, would have had a performance that you could actually start to get behind them or anything. I'm hoping the Girls of Young Vets do it, but that and now we've got Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, which to me are 2 singles wrestlers you forced into a tag team because they've got a little bit of a history. They were in a faction together, what have you. But you've got tag teams like the Outrunners. You've got tag teams like the Iron Savages. You've got tag teams like Top Flight, etc. You've got a plethora of tag teams that you refuse to fucking use outside of a Rampage and a Collision.
And I was just about to say you got Private Party there too. Like you got actual tag teams. And when I saw this, you know, this morning, I was like, this again, another just doesn't make sense move. I don't know.
This is why Motor City Machine Guns go to NXT versus going to AEW. Why the Lucha Bros decide, fuck you, I don't want to resign. I'd rather go do a run in NXT before I jump up on the main roster, because at least there I'll get fucking used and get booked and treated like a fucking top talent versus it's the same 3 teams constantly that just 100% that's run it back of it's all between those 3. Even the fucking Gun Club to me should be one of the top tag teams in this company, but they refuse because they're stuck in a trios. The trios division has crippled and killed the tag team division in AEW.
And crippled itself in the process. And I mean, again, like you said, the Gun Club, the Kingdom is one of the best, like the long-standing Ring of Honor, TNA, former champions. We never see them. We rarely see them in anything. The Outrunners got the biggest pop of the night outside of maybe Will Ospreay. All of Dynamite, the fans went insane. And I've been saying this for 2 weeks now. Tony Khan's got to take off those headphones and listen to the audience. Like, that is your hardcore, like the 2,000 people in that building, which I think TNA might actually eclipse that in their next coming couple shows, as far as having a bigger live audience in AEW, which is crazy. Shout out to AEW, to TNA on that one. But I mean, listen to the fan base. That's your hardcore fan base paying money to go. If they're losing their mind for somebody, like, to me, that's where they're missing the boat of like, send the Bucks back out there and nobody's reacting. But out come the Outrunners and the fans lose their mind.
I was waiting for you, Anthony. I was waiting for you. Oh, fair enough. I can go 100% of. Yeah, it's stop booking your friends and book the people that people actually want to fucking pay tickets to see. God damn it. That's really the bottom line here. For fuck's sake, like, I know Unbroken, the Gates of Agony, maybe not so much when it comes to tag teams, but there's plenty of tag teams. There's plenty of just other talent. That's the issue with AEW. They'll have a 200-man roster, but they'll book 15 fucking talent for 3 months. Like, come on, you can't add anybody. You can't switch out anybody. Nobody can get a fucking week off or anything like that. We just got to keep running people back. And that's funny because so many of the people that should be getting booked are the ones that don't get booked. And then you see, like, Orange Cassidy's been overbooked to shit, but where's Takeshita? I know he started to get booked again finally, but just I remember All Out when him and Okada went eye to eye. That was a fucking hell of a pop and a hell of a reaction. That's a match that needs to happen.
Yeah, like you said, they cycle through the same wrestlers. I still don't understand why the Young Bucks are holding the titles. I don't get it. They've defended it less than 5 times since they grabbed it at I don't even know when they grabbed it. It's like early April when I think they grabbed the tag team titles. But I don't
Dynasty?
I think it was Dynasty. If it was not Dynasty, then it was Double or Nothing in May, but I feel like it was Dynasty.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They have a lot of talented wrestlers there, not just in the tag team division, but as a whole, they have a lot of talented wrestlers there, and it's just they don't get used, and they just sit back there. And I don't understand. I feel like we're gonna be heading that way with Ricochet soon. I think that's gonna be something we're gonna talk about.
Oh my God!
I think
that's why when we get a Leo Rush thrown into a title match or anything like that, that's why we get the questions of how did they get into a title match here? Kyle Fletcher's another example. It's because they'll cycle through X amount of talent, but most of the time, you have this guy and that guy just taking L's for the talent that they're going to use constantly. So, and then when they actually start to get behind them, it's like, well, how did you get here? Because you haven't used them at all. You just randomly drop them into like a title match or a title eliminator, which I still fucking hate that term.
Yeah. Now, I mean, ultimately, trying to sort some of this out. And to your point, like, you bring in Ricochet signing with AEW is a big, big deal. That's one of the guys that still got, he's not over the hill. He's still in a pretty close to his prime, brings a lot to the table. Everybody rejoiced when he signed, and now he gets kicked in the face by Mortos. Like, it helped me understand.
I mean, it's literally, can we just say it literally at this point? It's bullshit. If Mortos is the one out there, Black Taurus is the one booting this man in the face, that it's officially literally bullshit at this point, because this man debuted it all in the Battle Royal to where we thought at this point you've got to at least win it, or at the very least be in a prominent spot and you're second to last out or anything like that. But he was just another guy in it, and he's had all right matches-ish since he's been on Dynamite, but everybody that's like, oh, he'll finally be able to, truly be Ricochet. No, he's having the same matches he was having on like Raw and SmackDown and everything. So it's really no different. It's still great that there's the potential for a him versus Ospreay match, but they're already tampering any sort of potential with this because he's not been presented like a star at all.
No.
Sorry.
No, absolutely. It's just, I don't know. He came in, I thought they were going to do something very, very good, and then it just kind of fell flat. And I feel like the same thing with Ricochet is going to happen to JYV. Like when you talk about JYV in 2024, you're really going to talk about their TNA run, because TNA used them from Hard to Kill all the way to No Surrender. They had a phenomenal feud with ABC. They lost the titles. They went about their way. Now they're in AEW, and what are they doing? I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but it's like, if you wanted to put a valuable challenger up for the tag team titles, it could have went their way, and they actually won the casino battle royal last night.
My opinion is they stuck GYV versus FTR is going to be on Collision this weekend because they didn't want it to overshadow the tag team champions at the pay-per-view. And I think decisions like that keep hurting this company, because as fans, if we're sitting watching the pay-per-view and GYV and FTR are unloading an unbelievable match, which I think they will do on Saturday, then you're going to make the tag team champs look bad. So you have to water down your product, no different than last night. Look at all the TV time Orange Cassidy and Jericho got. And again, you got Jericho in the ring crying because someone dumped coins in his car. Not broke his car, not flipped his car, not poured cement in his car, not exploded his car, which we've seen 100 times in. It was one of the most asinine, embarrassing, stupid things I've ever seen, that a man in his 50s was having a conniption fit because a grown-ass adult poured quarters into his car.
I won the jackpot then, motherfucker. Like, I'm going to the fucking casino. I'm going to the fucking arcade at least. But no, fragile egos book fragile shows. That's what it is. 100% when it comes to this. Of you have a lot of people with a lot of power when it comes to AEW, and I guess they are of the Hulk Hogan mindset of, I never used my creative control. Yeah, bull fucking shit.
Right.
That they look out for them and theirs, and them looking out for them and theirs at this point is the cancer in this company more than Philip Seymour Brooks was any sort of shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, the whole match was a wet fart. That's an interesting way to put it, MDB. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The match sucked. And again, that's the stuff that's turning fans off. Like me, like watching it on a Wednesday. Man, I was so out of energy at the end of that night. I watched 3 hours of Raw on Monday, and I was ready to do another 3 hours. And then an hour into Dynamite, I'm like, and people are going to tell me, well, you don't get it, or you're dumb, or why? It's just, I don't find the excitement in Jericho pretending to be upset because, like, again, like Nick said, jackpot, ching, like, so what? You didn't hurt the car. You didn't do anything of substance. You're wasting our.
Someone get me a bucket.
Easy, Eddie.
I need a plastic tote stat. I'm gonna just pay. I'm gonna go to the fucking laundromat. I'm gonna do all the laundry.
I'm gonna do all
the laundry.
Oh, sorry. I think
I like this one from 4-4 Talk. Of WWE's tag division is dull as well. Yes, it is the main roster one, 100%. Especially on the main roster. In fact, they have a lot of tag teams there as well that has been handled terribly. Examples: AOP, DIY, New Day, Profits, etc. I would cite our previous discussion at the start of this about Motor City Machine Guns and the likes of all of that, sir. But I agree with you, and hopefully it starts to get in a better direction, because honestly, at this point, I'd say TNA has the best tag team division when it comes to wrestling, honestly.
That or NXT. I could make a case for NXT's division being like what Axiom and such have done overlay. It's been really fun. But yeah, to your point, like, and I know Anthony can speak to this as far as like the system, good heel tag team, like ABC tied in there, right? And ABC is outstanding.
Yeah, you got the System, you got ABC, you got the Rascals, you got Jason Hotch, and I always forget his other the Good Hands. That's what it is, the Good Hands. So you got some good tag teams in there.
Touching hands, reaching out,
That's one.
touching me.
That's one.
Like and subscribe.
That's one slutty tag team. They get around. They're with someone new every week. They're terrible. Yeah, no, good point. And again, I don't want to let WWE off the hook. I think we all agree that WWE's tag team division, like we're not really into any of this. AOP is never cool. DIY from their entrance song out, they're not overly exciting. The Profits are good, but they haven't had a whole lot of good competition. The New Day's been fucking stale forever. I think they're going to do Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio and run them as a tag team for a while, to be 100% honest. But it's been boring. So, but that doesn't mean AEW gets away with having a shit one too. I just think that it's like you said, egos that are affecting AEW. I don't think it's egos that are affecting WWE. I just think it's prioritizing.
Shout out James Cook, he's a beast. But 100% that when AEW's whole focus is a bit on the tag team division, when you arguably have the greatest tag team in all of tag team wrestling in your company, and your tag team division is pretty shite, that's not a good side. And let's be honest, we've talked about this. We, especially as a tag team, as a trio, is 100% of tag team wrestling as a whole in pro wrestling is down at this point. As a whole, my whole Nia Jax, but it is down 100%. At this point, it is far from the greatest it's been at.
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure. Any other thoughts coming out of Dynamite last night? I really did like some stuff, but and I like the Moxie stuff. I just didn't get the Darby angle to it. So I like.
Explain to me the faction. How does it make sense? Like, why are we blocking out Yuta? Like, I'm waiting at this point for Pac to shave his head, because this is apparently the bald head's head.
I was surprised they didn't address Yuta at all. Like, Yuta didn't show up and be like, "Why did you do this? Why didn't you at least let me in on it?" Right? Like, clearly Yuta was shocked by the decision. I felt like that didn't get addressed enough. Dale giving us the ratings. I saw that a couple times up above. Again, nothing. I know people are number 2, but I mean, it doesn't feel like a great thing.
Remember when that used to be like a really bad rating for Dynamite, not something to praise? Like, fuck, that was only like what, half a year ago,
right? When CM Punk was there.
Yeah.
61% of the chat believe it would be a good, like Darby as champion would be good. So that's not a hefty win for Darby. It just, again, the only thing I would say about that, and last before we move on to the next thing, is you look at like Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Dolph Ziggler, Darby Allin. And I don't dislike Darby Allin. I just don't know if that's the face of your company at this time.
Would you rather see Darby versus Danielson or Darby versus Moxley?
Darby versus Moxley is going to be insane. They're going to try and kill each other. God knows what they're going to stick through each other's face.
I was going to say, and I would say if it's because it would be where he loses the title. So if it's Danielson's last match,
it would be Danielson's last match. Like, part of me believes, this is my prediction of what's going to happen, because I'm just guessing, and I could be completely wrong. Darby's going to beat Danielson, and the crowd's going to go insane. The in-building crowd's going to lose their mind because Darby's the champion, until Luchasaurus kicks him in the head and Christian walks away with the belt at the end of the night. That's what I think is going to play out.
Oh, you fucking dropped that title down, but 3 pegs down.
That's what I think is going to happen.
That feels less important than the TNT title. Fuck. And I got you there, because I mean, I'm with you. Like, the hometown Darby's the self belt. He's AEW guy through and through, just like a Hangman. I'd pop for that. But the second when you're like, and then Lucha Kanosaurus shows up, I'm like, fuck. And it's the TNT title now.
And because Danielson had that happen to him, like Danielson won, the crowd went wild. You know, Randy Orton comes out, Triple H screws him over. Like, you have that moment, right? I could see them run back that exact same play, but it's Darby. It's Darby in the middle.
Yeah, but fucking respectfully, there's not Randy Orton's, there's not Batista's in this, there's not Triple H's in this. You've got Christians, you've got Nick Wayne's, you've got Lucha Canes. No, it is not the same cast, not even the same caliber. This is going from Broadway to your local high school theater.
Yeah. Hangman needs to beat Danielson. You just beat the former world champion, what you love. One, some people are saying is the most intense rivalry in AEW history. That would be kind of a natural progression to go after the actual champion now. No,
would make sense.
I mean, in WWE's world, that would make sense, but TK is booking this.
Well, Anthony, who would you rather see? Would you rather see the Darby match versus Danielson, or would you rather see Danielson versus Moxley, especially after had the whole bag chokeout spot?
I think for me, easily it'd be Moxley versus Danielson. I feel like that'd be a spectacular match, and if that's Danielson's last match, who better to do it than Moxley?
Yeah.
Is it fitting that the Eco champ got choked out by plastic, though?
Well, here's the thing, Nick. Let's put it in context, right? I run up behind you right now and I put a bag over your head and fucking choke you out and run away. And the next time you see me, you fight Anthony.
Bitch, why you let him do that?
That's what's happening here. Like, Danielson's gonna come off the gurney, off the hospital bed, and fight Nigel. Meanwhile, the motherfucker that tried to kill him is still roaming around. What? Come on.
And that's the thing, though, too, is going into the whole Nigel match. If that's a special match, like that's 15 years at this point that they haven't touched. Like, it was a big moment to see Nigel come back and actually be in the ring and everything. And that instantly sparked the whole discussion of him versus Danielson. And now, especially if you're Tony Khan and you own the whole back catalog to everything that they did in Ring of Honor, fucking holy shit, you could do an hour special and sit there and edit it out and everything and just do all the footage of the history building up to this. And honestly, you do that as as Danielson's last match. Tony Khan, there's some free ideas for you. I'm sure you won't do it, but there you go. You sit there and do a special that sells that, and it's right before Wrestle Dream. You retire Danielson in the Pacific Northwest. There you go. He drops the title, but don't wait. We're going to give you that beforehand at Grand Slam just to try and maybe move the 10,000 tickets we couldn't sell beforehand.
And to me, it made it simple because you could have had that angle play out, but it got all convoluted because I think that would have been a really sentimental, perfect farewell. And it could be Nigel's last match too. Like, imagine Nigel retires and Danielson retires with him, all in, in front of a Seattle crowd.
That's the moment of embrace. We all historic rivals. The Ring of Honor Rock Austin sits there and is able to sit there and just hug it out. And you can even run back of McGinnis's whole thing of everything you got, Brian, is everything I should have had, and you can actually give that time story to breathe and everything. Holy shit, storylines and creative. Holy fucking shit. But no, Moxley needs title shot. Moxley choke out people. I still thought it was funny, like I said, of the guy that's out there with the hemp belt and everything of, getting rid of Daisy is the guy that's one choked out by plastic and everything.
Well, and again, I think it was just there on a platter. It's just almost like the path of most resistance is the path we're going to take, folks. Fuck it. And I don't quite get it. One last thing before we move on to Victory Road. This has been talked about a lot in the last couple hours. Jesse Ventura is returning to commentary for Saturday Night Main Event. Well, I think it's funny as shit for nostalgia purposes.
That'll last a week.
Do you think so?
Before he's out there, about the snake people, the reptilian people, and shit like that. Fucking NBC is gonna cut that shit off after a while. And I know it's nice that he's out there to be nice nostalgia, and I hope maybe he can make it work. It'll be fucking really cool. It's like when you got JR and King to do fucking, when they run back a Raw history and everything like that. The Raw anniversary shows, all of that. But I don't know. I wait until we get, something about the frog people out there from Jesse Ventura. And then they'll just, nope, Jesse, sorry. No thanks.
Yeah.
You go back to fucking Tijuana, Mexico, because I don't want to live in America.
I'm interested to hear him on commentary, right? I'm interested to hear him, so it's gonna be crazy. I'm looking forward to Saturday night.
Have you never heard Jesse on commentary? Like,
I mean, I wasn't born, so
libraries exist, my guy.
Libraries. Yes, I have heard him. So to hear him live, I guess would be
fair enough.
Right. I'm sure they sit him down and they're just like, okay, Jesse, please only talk about wrestling. We'll see how it goes. If nothing else, it should be very interesting because he is a bit of a wobbly dude. But for the nostalgia purposes, I think it'll be fun. And I mean, it's not like they're doing these Saturday night specials every single week. Like it's quarterly or once or twice a year. So you only have to really play with Jesse for a couple hours.
Yeah, but so like that's what I'm saying. I think it'll work the first one, and then that'll be the whole one and only. So make sure you don't miss it. Because he'll be out there with you. Yeah. It's Saturday Night Live, and there's all these lights out here, just like the lights in the sky that no one wants to talk about.
Okay. With all that being said, folks, tomorrow night, as part of our SmackDown live coverage, we will be here live for Victory Road. I really wish they would move these into Thursdays and make them special Thursdays. I know I'm just being a whiny wrestling fan at this point, but I want to watch these TNA shows and not have my attention split. And I think it's an opportunity for them to maximize their audience. That being said, this card is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you with them moving it to Thursdays or doing a Saturday show. I don't know, because I feel like I've lucked up over the past Friday shows because SmackDown has aired earlier because they've been out of the country. But tomorrow is difficult because SmackDown season premiere is stacked and you got Victory Road and this is the main event, and it's crazy that this is the main event for Victory Road and not Bound for Glory, which I thought they were heading. So yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow.
And by the way, if you're listening right now, do not throw any what's happening tonight spoilers into the chat. Anthony in particular wants to watch and find out for himself.
Yes.
I do know they added this match, but Cardona will take on Steph and PCO with a mystery partner. It better be better than the last mystery partner.
Yeah, because it doesn't need to be Shira again.
It'll be Shanky.
I'm assuming it'll be a female. I'm hoping. I imagine. Maybe. No, it doesn't have to.
Fair enough. Then.
I didn't think about that because Steph D. Lander is on the opposite side. So yeah.
What was the one female wrestler that they had for like the one super show that they did in India where they made where they had Jinder as the world champion and everything? She came out with the skin. Never mind. She came out with the orange skin outfit and everything.
You're going a long way around for a haha, but it's not.
I'm asking a genuine ass question.
But it ain't happening.
I don't remember her name, but I do know who you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be that mystery partner. Maybe it's anyway. It could be like a Jessica Havoc, or maybe it's Ali Catch. I don't know. Like, I have no idea.
Giselle Shaw.
Ali Catch. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. She hasn't been around in a hot minute, but it'd be very interesting. I like this storyline. How do you feel about this storyline?
I've liked it so far. I think Matt Cardona putting off that he can't wrestle yet. It's because he's not gonna wrestle tomorrow. I'm pretty sure he's not wrestling tomorrow. We'll see. Because he was supposed to wrestle at Emergence and that didn't happen. So I'm excited. This feud has been brewing for a couple of weeks, so they've been doing solid with this feud. I really thought it was gonna kind of play out, but it really hasn't. And the TNA fans seem like they're really into it.
It's because we love PCO so much, and Steph's been good, and so Cardona. Everyone likes shitting on the hating Cardona, so I think it all fits.
Right.
But are we not surprised that this isn't just going to end up at some point of a ruse of Steph D. Lander still being tied up in everything with Nick Cardona and all of that? Like it's clearly obviously there.
That'd be heartbreaking. Poor PCO.
Right. PCO's been.
How do you break a heart on something that's dead?
It's
not pumping. It's not breathing. It's not moving.
It's the tragic Frankenstein story all over again, right?
Ah, fire!
So there, yeah.
Poutine!
Oh, wait a minute.
Chelsea Green.
But there is a pathway to that now.
I got spicy
Could
real
you
quick.
imagine?
Yes, Chelsea Green. That would be interesting.
Chelsea Green.
That actually works, and it has a pathway to it.
Is she on the
100% it
SmackDown
does.
card tomorrow?
Not
Is
that I know
Chelsea
of.
Green on the Smack? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Let her be at Victory Road. Let her
I'm
be at
waiting for
Victory
them to
Road.
do the portal open, and then Matt Cardona shows up on NXT somehow here. Just let that fucking shit happen.
Yeah, I'm in. Like, I mean, like even putting out, maybe they will throw a curveball and it'll be Chelsea again because of the working relationship. I mean, that's one phone call. Listen,
Right.
we have Chelsea for a night. We need her to beat up Steph.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, hang with her hubby for
We
a
get
night.
Matt for a weekend.
Yeah. This is fun part of the whole wrestling swap. Do you have the card there, Nick?
I do actually.
I thought you would.
So we've got Zachary Wentz versus Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship.
It has to be Zachary Wentz. I feel like it has to be Zachary Wentz because Mike Bailey should have won at Emergence. He held that title for 30 days and they were like, we're done with you. We're giving it to Zachary Wentz. Because I kind of want, if Zachary Wentz accepts his Wesley's challenge, I kind of want that street fight to be for the X Division title on the CW. I think that would be excellent.
I like that too. I like Wentz winning it and keeping going with this TNA rivalry. But I also wouldn't mind seeing, I mean, I'm shocked that Speedball hasn't been tapped on the shoulder yet and shown off a little.
Right.
Because I think if they let him go over there, we won't get him back a little bit. If he goes over there and plays, he won't come back over here. Because it is interesting of how everybody that's been used by NXT or anything very much gets the push because you know that they're going to have that jump over and jump back around. You're going to show up on NXT with the X Division title. So a lot of people, like we talked about with MCMG earlier, a lot of people have never seen the X Division title. Now the first time they saw that was at like No Mercy and everything when he's showing up there to take on Wesley after he just won the belt. So it's a nice little platform to sit there and we can still show off our stuff subtly without really fully infringing on shit, but it's a nice little drop there.
Right.
Yeah.
Juan's got a good point, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I know they're working on it. That's what Santino said, but it's all in due time. And when it happens, I think it'll be good.
Yeah. I mean,
would you rather have TNA Impact or would you rather have AEW Shockwave?
This FS1 Fox, we didn't dive into it because we wouldn't need more
because
details.
It's fucking laughable.
Again, and old Uncle Dave was like, the Warner Brother deal's done. It's going to have an HBO element, and I hope it. Like, what makes me so mad is I hate Meltzer so much. I want the deal to fall through to say fuck you, Meltzer. But as an AEW fan, I want the deal to go through because I want to keep watching AEW. I'm torn.
Exclusivity is clearly gone. It's now it's the question of if they'll actually what deal will they have and with who, because to me, like even the FS1 deal aspect of it to me is a little interesting, but like they just let WWE go and they had better viewership, they had better ratings,
but they were
more ad friendly, everything like that, and you still were having to block out some of their shit. You weren't super happy on the return that you got theirs, so like, well, why are you going for the lesser of the two, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, some people have explained that, like, WWE SmackDown, as good as it was in all the reasons you said, but it was still very expensive and it was a bit of a net loss.
They overpaid,
right? So you get the Temu version of a WWE show coming through at a discount.
Well, is it at this point if they at least get a deal versus the numbers? Because I know for the longest time it was always that they're going to get a bigger deal and they're going to get a huge deal from Warner Discovery, and now we're getting more comfortable with the fact that the Warner Discovery deal is not exclusive anymore and other companies might be involved in everything. So does it just get more to, well, we got a deal versus we had these high numbers? It's a little bit like with the ratings of, well, we were at 800, we were at 900, but we settle for low sevens, high sixes.
Woohoo.
Would they be able to even show the program on FS1? Because they bleeped out SmackDown just randomly, right? The things that AEW does, are they even going to show the show on FS1? I don't even think that whole rumor is true about them going to Fox, to be honest. I think it was, I don't know.
Negotiation, leverage.
That's what I think. Just a little bit of leverage.
But if I'm Warner Discovery, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but
go ahead. Like, if we ain't reached an agreement now, go ahead. Go ahead. See what that does. We know what they just did with them. Go ahead. See how that works now.
Like Uncle Dave letting out a little leak because I believe he's the main source of this SRS kind of like, maybe we'll let it leak that we're thinking of going to Fox and it will like perk. I could blow up in their face, but maybe that is what's happening here.
Yeah, and folks, by 2025, when you can watch us in a YouTube tab and you can watch AEW Dynamite in another YouTube tab on the same time and everything like that, because they're just doing their shit live on YouTube, because ain't no fucking TV deal signing them or some shit. 100%, that's where we'll be, because like Anthony even said, if they're going to show the product on Fox, they bleeped out how much of SmackDown and everything. Are we going to air this at 2 a.m., to avoid, it being an issue with who's watching it, what have you? If you want to push the edge like you did it All Out, then you can't be sitting there working out at TV deals. You're doing push-pull. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth and trying to make them make sense.
Right. Yeah, you might have to put a fucking seizure warning on the beginning of the show. Like, this may cause, there will be a blinking effect during this show because it's black.
Yeah, honestly.
Right. The opening match of Dynamite last night, again, I have no problem with it. We're not mad about it, but I'm not running a network, for no reason. The guy in the match throws up 2 fingers. Opening match for not like just because I'm going to.
Well, and you got a Mark Briscoe match and he randomly just gets busted open and everything like that. Like, 100%. It means nothing if you're watching on a regular network, but especially if you're going to go to Fox. We saw how they were with a less offensive product, and you're going to go there, and that's going to work out? Okay.
Right. Fun fact, Pro Pascal. How did this get into the? It was also created by Canadians, so there you go. Figure that one out. But TNA and NXT have so many possibilities for some good interactions. I agree. But speaking of TNA, let's get back to
match number 2 on Victory Road. Tag team match player. Holla, holla, holla. TNA Knockouts World Tag Team match. If Spitfire loses, they must disband as a team. So we've got Alicia Edwards, and Masha Stemovich, the defending champions, taking on Spitfire, aka Danny Luna and Jody Threat. So I know who KJ is going with, and it's not Jody Threat.
I hate to disappoint my guy. The minute they had that like Spitfires will break up stipulation, I think they're winning. I don't think they're breaking up.
Yeah, Spitfire has to win. Like, they don't have any tag teams. Like, in the women's division, it's literally Spitfire and the Militia. If you want to put Wendy Chu and Rosemary in there shortly, maybe, but they don't have any tag teams, so Spitfire has to win. And Gail Kim has been outspoken about this. Like, they have to try to get more tag teams in the Knockouts division, more tag teams, more women in the Knockouts division, period. And then she actually, broke the story that her and Mickey were going to become a tag team to help out the Knockouts division last year, but she wound up stepping away from TNA and moved on, and that never happened.
Wow. Oh, I was about to say, fuck, that's like saying, so Jordan and Kobe are just gonna put up on be a fucking 2-on-2 team and just, at a charity basketball tournament, just to help fucking fill out the depth charts here and everything. But
the one time I picked Jody, she's actually gonna lose. Watch.
Fuck you, because Danny Luna, my girl, is winning this 100% I'm glad at least we're all on the Spitfire team here. And it's, again, still To hell with Alicia Edwards. Just no, I don't like that she's a champion. I stand on business. I stand respectfully on that. 100%. Danny Luna and Spitfire, Jody Threat, KJ's least favorite Canadian, need to win this match.
Oh, poor Jody. Yeah, I like Militia more than you do, but the minute that stipulation popped up, I was like, they can't break up Spitfires. Militia breaking up makes more sense than the Spitfires breaking up.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
On to the next.
ABC trying to get that 1, 2, 3. Ace Austin and Chris Bay defending the titles against the System, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, with Alicia Edwards at ringside doing double duty.
Oh, she's against more. She's like the Chris Jericho of fucking TNA.
You're giving me so many reasons to like her, my guy. So many right now. Of just, I'm amazed. I fucking can't stand this woman because you're saying how great she is.
We see her a lot.
Yeah, I wish I'd see her not. That's how we go.
What do you think?
I think ABC retains. I think ABC retains here. I don't think the System is going to regain any of their titles back anytime soon. This all has been ABC, and I feel like ABC needs to move on to potentially facing the Hardys at Bound for Glory because they have called their shot and want the tag team titles. So I think ABC versus the Hardys at Bound for Glory should be the route in the next month and a half.
Has the System almost run its course coming out of this? Like, we're getting really close to that, like, especially if Moose loses against Nemeth. To get there, but I feel like they're close to, like, done.
Yeah, I feel like it's become obsolete.
Yeah, I think the System should bounce out and out the door. Like, you've ran your time, you ran your course.
Well, and yeah, they were kind of the dominant faction in TNA, and again, now they've been plucked apart here. ABC wins this one. So now we're down into the heaviest of heavy matches. I'll start with the match that's going to cause the most discussion here, I feel. Jordan Grace versus Wendy Chu for the TNA Knockouts World Championship.
Well, obviously,
Jordan Grace wins this easy.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be Jordan Grace. I think they're really setting up Jordan Grace versus Rosemary. I think that's where we're headed. I think we're actually
because I was that match instead.
I was gung ho that Jordan Grace was going to face Ash by Elegance at Bound for Glory, but they've ran 3 matches with them already, and Jordan Grace has already won all 3 of them. So I think they're setting up Rosemary to potentially be the one to defeat Jordan Grace. And I think that'll be a great choice. Wendy Chu and Jordan Grace tomorrow. I'm standing on business that we're going to see the best Wendy Chu because she's going to be in the ring with one of the best women's wrestlers in the world in Jordan Grace, who brings the best out of anybody. I think this will be a banger match tomorrow with Jordan Grace and Wendy Chu. I'm standing on
familiar when KJ was talking about Jack Perry and Bryan Danielson and how did that turn out? But is it interesting that Rosemary is the best challenger that TNA could make up? And it seems like even I know I haven't been the most attentive when it comes to TNA, but has Rosemary been really positioned to be like somebody who would be one to take the title off of Jordan Grace, or is it more of just, well, we've got this deal working out, and they've got this Wendy Chu girl over there. So Rosemary, call to arms. You've got to get her over and everything. And so now we're going that way. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a strong actual TNA contender to take the title off of Jordan Grace.
I think what they've been trying to do with Rosemary just a tad bit was to inch Rosemary into that position, and I think she proved herself worthy when they had the first initial open challenge for Rosemary to accept, and her and Jordan Grace and Rosemary had a very great match until it was interrupted by Ash by Elegance. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where they're trying to go. I'm not sure if Rosemary is the one to beat Jordan Grace, but if she is, I think that's a correct choice. Now, if there was anybody in that division, if they were not stuck in a tag team right now that really could physically beat Jordan Grace, it would be Masha Slamovich. And I think they should rerun that match back that they did a couple of years ago at Bound for Glory.
Masha.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. Rosemary and Chew together has been really kind of cool. The way they've set it up has been nice. It's been fun to watch. So much so that when I watched back and I was doing the edits and the clips for our show on Tuesday, when it came on, Nick was like, "Is this the Wyatt stuff?" So, and then followed it up with, "Oh, it's Chew, it's stupid." So I found that very interesting. But Wendy Chu,
folks, those are not direct quotes. Those are unsourced quotes.
But once upon a time, Wendy Chu was doing something really silly, and when she would get in the ring, she was tripping over herself and she was falling asleep during matches. It was dumb. She went away. She came back. Now there's an edge to her, very similar to Rosemary's gimmick, very similar to what Decay had, very similar to what Nikki Cross is currently doing. And she's talented in the ring. She's not doing anything silly. She's violent. She's aggressive. She hasn't done anything playful, and she hasn't done anything childish, not once. So help me understand.
Why, Your Honor, I will say this if I may approach the bench. I feel that honestly, it's a bit of the history. It's especially the look hasn't changed. The fucking attire is just more.
The look hasn't changed.
You asked me my fucking answer, and then the second I get 2 words in, you're like, time out.
Well, her look didn't change. Her look didn't change. Her look didn't change. Her look didn't change. She looks identical to what she used
attire, pajamas, check and check.
Her look hasn't changed.
Ponytails, check. Oh, she put on some Halloweeny makeup, check. What did she do that was drastically different than anything?
Asking, like the look seems a lot different as far as, again, she went from light to dark, and she did change the look as much as we see anyone else.
Went from footy pajamas to, I guess, a singlet, like pajama. Like, I don't think that there's a drastic difference here, sir.
Diet up.
You're going hard in the fucking paint when it comes to Wendy Chu, my guy.
It bothers you. But
yeah, but I can't even say what bothers me.
Well, go ahead.
I did.
But I don't know. It doesn't feel silly. Anthony, I know me and Nick have argued about this a lot. I don't see the silliness of Chu right now.
I guess for me, because I didn't watch Wendy Chu when she was sleeping and doing all that stuff that KJ was talking about.
You hated Sleepy Chu and fucking came so around just because she put on some Halloween makeup.
No, because of what she's doing. Because what she's physically doing in the ring, Nick.
Right, but I can't get to that because it's goddamn
so bullshit. What? She used to do silly stuff, but now she's not. So she's silly.
Look like a wrestler, so I can take you serious like a wrestler. Don't look like a goddamn sorority sleepover at a Halloween party. You look like an
Cross used to almost be a superhero, dude. Nikki Cross used to almost be a superhero,
and she don't look like that now, does she, motherfucker?
Exactly. So that's the
thing. That's why you can take her differently. Why it looks different. Why you can take her differently. Why you can take her seriously because it's indifferent than how she was presented before. Wendy Chu was just presented the same way, just spooky.
So I want to kind of break down though what you said, Nick, because you said you want Wendy Chu to look like a wrestler, right? Nikki Cross in her current position doesn't look like a wrestler. She looks like the Thing from the Ring movies.
She's at least presented differently. Yeah, I can't get Pat. You're telling me that there's a dress. You ask me a question, I start to answer it, and you just say how over top of me. If you'd like me to answer the question, then you need to be quiet for at least like 10 seconds here. Sorry. To me, it's how does she look drastically different from when she was, Sleepy Chu versus now she's Spooky Chu. There is no big difference outside of her makeup's a little different. She's got, the Jack Skellington fucking paint on. That's it. She sit there and got, the Jeff Hardy paint on, Undertaker eyeballs. Go ahead. I'm done.
But if you can get past the makeup, she's not being presented the same way she used to be. She is not being presented silly. She's showing up and choking people out, no different than a Rosemary. No different than a fucking, like I said, a Jessica Havoc or a Nikki Cross. None of them. Like, again, I don't understand. You love Abaddon. You love Abaddon. But because what? I don't get. They're not presenting her silly anymore. So why can't we cheer for her a little bit?
Because I'm saying I cannot get past the fucking sleepy sorority bullshit of that. You literally just look like, you're the background dancer number 5 in your sorority, thighs slamma jamma out there doing a Thriller fucking, video of you don't look like, and I get we're the fucking Nikki Cross, and you can find 10,000 examples of people don't look like wrestlers and everything like that. But there's nothing to me that's drastically shifted my perception of Wendy Chu from when she was sleepy Wendy Chu out there fucking laying down in a parking lot with a Stanley Cup and everything like that. I understand she might be better in the ring like that, but I can't even get to that because there's nothing to me that makes me want to take her any differently, just perceptually wise, what I see on my screen, how I see as a wrestler, anything like that, that's different than what I saw before.
Anthony,
I can't get past the surface here, and that might be a me thing, but I can't get past the surface.
Anthony, now you're witnessing the presentation. She is taking on the champion.
Right.
I'm curious, because you don't have that preconception. Do you feel like she feels silly? Like, how do you feel about her actual, not just her makeup? I know she's got makeup on, but so does Rosemary standing right next to her, and that doesn't seem to bother people. Do you feel like they're like, when she comes out, you're like, oh, this is silly?
I feel like, honestly, this is a little bit of Gail Kim's handiwork. Gail Kim has came out on an occasion and said she wanted Wendy Chu and Rosemary to be somewhat of can't even talk, a cohesive unit, right? So I feel like this is a little bit of Gail Kim's work at this point. I don't find it silly. I actually find it entertaining. I don't find it scary either, right? Like, when Rosemary does her stuff, I'm legit scared, right? When the Undertaker did his stuff, I'm legit scared. Sometimes when PCO does some stuff, I'm legit scared. I find it more on Wendy Chu's area that she's more entertaining than scary, but I don't think it's silly. I really don't. And I think Rosemary actually has brought the best out of Wendy Chu over the past couple of weeks, leading into what we saw this week on NXT with that whole video package. That was like insane. Like, I think that was a lot of Rosemary's handiwork in putting that together. So I think it's more of Chu being entertaining for me than the gimmick actually being silly. Now, while you guys were arguing, I did go back and looked at some of Wendy Chu when she was sleepy. I do think it's a drastic change because she just looked like she was going to a slumber party. Now she has on this black pajama suit. She got dark eyes. She got her eyelids painted, and her hair is coming down, and whatever you want to call it. I think it is a little bit of a drastic change. It's not huge, but she was coming out looking like she was going over to a 5-year-old sleeping party from the pictures I see on Google.
At this point, goddamn it, I'm gonna just admit I'm biased as shit towards this. It just ain't for me, dog. I ain't gonna fight anymore. You can have it. You made your points. I get it. It just ain't for me, dog. You can have that. I guess that is what I'm mad at.
Yeah. The funniest part is, I mean, I like her in ring. I wish she wasn't wearing pajamas. I really do. I wish she was like if you were gonna change her gimmick, like get her out of the PJs, and then you can make her creepy with. But I still think that when she gets in the ring, like, I love what she did to Kalani Jordan. I like what she did to Jordan Grace this week. When she was wrapped around her, choking Jordan out, I wasn't like, oh, this, I just want to, that's where my head's at. And I just think Wendy could do more. I think Abaddon looks like my ex. Good for you, bro. With the makeup, I'm supposing. But I mean, again, this should be a good match. Who are we taking? And why is it not Wendy Chu, Nick?
It's Jordan Grace. It is 100% goddamn it, Jordan Grace. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely Jordan Grace. And like I said, I'm standing on business that Wendy Chu is going to have a phenomenal match tomorrow because Jordan Grace brings out the best in everyone she steps in the ring with.
Hey, at least unlike other wrestling journalists and shit like that, well, at least admit when we have biases. And goddamn it, I am biased towards Wendy Chu.
But what I love about this, and I love about what we do here, is neither one of us is right. There's no absolute.
I don't know. It's 2-on-1. I feel like I'm getting bullied here. Everyone's beating up me. I just wanted to stop. I just don't like her.
But there's people in the chat that agree with you that are like, Richard said she's wearing pajamas. I can't get past pajamas. I get that, right? But
again, but then you've also got MDB saying Nick draws the line at pajamas, but we have more toast wearing a bull mask and a waist trainer every week. Yeah, we've had our fucking mantars and shit. So yeah, for whatever reason, it doesn't work for me, dog. I'm Randy Jackson on this.
Mm-hmm. Again, different strokes, and what I love is we can scream and yell at each other, and the chat can get involved, and it's fun, man. I love it, like especially when I know you're just like, and I just heard like,
fucking poke you, you bitch.
I'll kill you, I swear to God.
I will find a trip to Canada so fast.
We got one more match, I think.
No, we have two more.
Oh shit!
We talked that long about that match. It feels like we've got one more. So we've got Joseph Hendry. Say his name, and he appears, taking on Josh Alexander.
Dare I say Josh Alexander wins?
Ooh.
I feel like, and this is just my head, I feel like Josh Alexander wins at Victory Road. They run this back at Bound for Glory, where Joe Hendry finally takes the victory at the biggest show of the year, right? And then Joe Hendry beats Nick Nemeth at Hard to Kill to finally get that crowning moment as world champion in TNA. That's where my mindset is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part is this match doesn't end clean as well to get to run this back at Bound for Glory. I'm taking Josh Alexander against everything because I feel like Joe Hendry needs this. I'm taking Josh Alexander.
Does NXT have an involvement with this or anything like that? Of obviously Joe Hendry's been prominently featured obviously on NXT, and you've got Ethan Page currently your NXT World Heavyweight Champion. We've had it teased and had it brought up of Josh Alexander showing up there as well. So could we get either it's post-match, during match, anything? Could we get an NXT impact here?
Ooh, Josh Alexander because of Tony P. Sorry, what was the end of your question there? Sorry, I got sidetracked.
If we could get it, literally, you kind of halfway answer to that of if we could get an NXT impact on this match.
It'd be interesting. I think these two are just going to have it out, but I do think ultimately Josh is interesting because Josh has publicly gone. Again, I'm not positive when his contract's expiring, but he will test free agency this time. And he's been clear about that. Like, he's never kind of been in the bell of the ball, and he wants to see what company is willing to give him now. So, I think this is the opportunity for Josh to kind of do some business and push Joe. But like Anthony said, because we're up against Bound for Glory, which is going to be that big show, do they save it for that? And does I think Josh steals this one? And I think involved, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he steals it just because Joe Hendry hasn't been winning anything right now. And I think I think what TNA is trying to do is get so many people behind Joe Hendry that at Bound for Glory, when he finally beats the face of TNA, the blueprint, the standard, he gets that biggest pop that he deserves, and then he rides on that until we get to Hard to Kill and he wins the title. I think that's really what I see happening.
But do you have Joe Hendry win here, and that's when you get Joe Hendry or Josh Alexander to where just starts to get more and more into that of I can't win, and just gets more and more of I'm gonna fucking snap at some point, and then you can really pay that off on a back end here. To me, it's Joe Hendry's your biggest gotcha get, so I think he wins here.
Stoner coming in a little late, but I like it. It made me laugh.
man, just like coming in from the top rope here. Just, look out for.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one. These are two kind of like the new kind of big face of the company and the heart and soul, arguably, of the last 5, 6, 7 years. Josh has meant so much to TNA. Yeah, this one's a tough one to call. It's going to be a hell of a match.
Oh yeah, it's 100%
match.
I feel like this is one of those matches where Joe can really show people I'm not just the song. Like, I will go toe to toe with a guy like Josh, and I will belong.
Yeah, and well, that's the biggest thing is because everybody knows Joe Hendry because of Say His Name, and you know the gimmick, you know the fucking meme, everything like that. Bell to bell, not that many people know Joe Hendry and respect Joe Hendry, but you put him there square eye to eye with somebody like Josh Alexander, 100% he will deliver, and that make the case more of Joe Hendry needs the win to validate what he can actually do in the ring, and you can get more into this disenfranchised Josh Alexander of, he becomes a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more of that's where he shows up on NXT and just is fucking taking anybody out. He becomes more the walking weapon.
Yeah, I think he's already unhinged now, especially what he did a couple of weeks ago when he interrupted the Kushida match and took out Laredo Kid just to fight Kushida. So I think he's already hitting that unhinged portion of his character.
But wait, there's more.
I like it. Gotta go with Josh. He will destroy Joe. Or he would just Joe after the match and send him away for a while, setting up a babyface comeback angle. I don't know if
Joe's already a babyface, but what up, Ricky? Been a minute, my guy.
Yeah, buddy. I don't know if Joe's stepping away right now. He's so hot, it would be silly to kind of give him too much of a breath.
The only way he's stepping away is if he steps to NXT instead of TNA.
Right.
And I still want the North to kind of reunite in all this, right? So there's still that lingering of like, I think there's something there.
But that's why I think more of if like Josh is a little bit more unhinged, it might, then you can really kind of link that there. I'm not saying you couldn't now, but just maybe it adds an extra little tinge of he's the Jacob Fatu to Ethan Page's Solo Sikoa. We want to go that way.
Right. All right. Before we get to the main event, here's a question. I'll let Anthony kick this one off, but is there a better opponent out there for Jordan that we're not?
Is it Natalya?
I think I said it with Masha because we haven't seen Natalya and Jordan Grace go at it yet. I want that match to happen. Okay, I feel like it's not going to happen on TNA's terms. I feel like that match is going to be saved for when Jordan Grace eventually signs with WWE. But yeah, I think right now anyone in TNA can take the title. It would be Masha. Rosemary is a good fit, but I don't know if Rosemary is the one. If she takes the title away from Jordan Grace, I won't be upset though, because Rosemary deserves her flowers because she has done great work for TNA over the past couple of years.
Fair enough. How about that main event? Oh, you're gonna add something?
Well, I was just gonna ask: is the ultimate match we could get of Rhea Ripley versus Jordan Grace, of just dominant women's champion versus dominant women's champion, and see who comes out as the bigger powerhouse?
One day.
One day.
Yeah.
One day, yeah. I could see that.
We are one day away from the main event right now that you have pulled up there, sir. Nick Nemeth, not Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, taking on Moose, defending the TNA World Championship.
If it's not Nick Nemeth, I don't know why they put the title on him. Yeah, it gotta be Nick.
Oh, we want that Ziggler. Yeah, it's gotta be Dolph.
We're going to all three going Nick, eh?
Well, I mean, Christ, he's my namesake. I think like I'm kind of at least obligated, especially just a wee bit. But and again, like Anthony said, they put the title on him. They brought him in. We thought initially when they brought him in, they were going to put the title on him. They waited. They played it out. They made sense of it. They actually showed, hey, he's not just here for a bit. He's not here just for win the belt and then fuck off and everything. No, he's going to be here for a bit. And now he's been out there with JBL in Mexico, which was weird as shit. And now has won the title, is running with it. So he's become more the face of this company. And that's why still we could see Moose versus Obafemi. So we don't need, TNA World Champion versus NXT North American Champion.
Right. And I do think the system's on their way out. Like, I feel like they had a nice run. They feel a little more fragmented. I think Militia's going to lose. I don't see this the tag team picking up the dub. Yeah, I think the system's on wobbly ground, and this might be the final nail in that coffin. and then it does open up the opportunities to Moose to kind of move on to do other things.
Right.
Now, sidebar question:
Yes.
Who would you say would be the next challenger in line? Like, is the Josh Alexander Joe Hendry match pretty much the one, like the number one contenders match of whoever wins between Moose and Nemeth, they face that match? Like, or is there somebody out there that you would say, like a Macklin or anything, that deserves a title shot outside of anybody that's been mentioned on this card?
Now, I don't think we ever got the conclusion of the feud with Nick Nemeth and Steve Macklin.
Ooh.
I'm a huge Macklin fan. I'm honestly waiting for fucking him to go back to WWE. Like, I loved him in the TNA. I love him in Wrestling Revolver and all of that. But he's been one of those guys that's fully gone from what was just a throwaway, what was a know-nothing release, was an extra notes on a release, press release from WWE, and has now turned himself into one of the best wrestlers in pro wrestling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think though, Steve Macklin versus Nick Nemeth, that could be your headlining match at Bound for Glory. I really think that's your best bet. If it's not going to be Moose, if it's not going to be Josh Alexander, and if it's not going to be Joe Hendry, and I feel like it's a little bit too soon for Joe Hendry. I feel like he's going to get that moment in January. So yeah, Steve Macklin versus Nick Nemeth for the world title at Bound for Glory. I'm here for it.
Yeah, is Macklin fighting Hammerstone tonight?
He is, I think so. Yeah.
That's a match I gotta catch. Like, that's a barn burner.
Yeah.
Like,
so me, Punisher is fighting Thor. Okay,
right. Macklin's a guy. Yeah, Macklin deserves a lot of love. I still instantly think of his scalp flapping in the wind.
Just stable it. That's what I think of stable guns, because they were just like, you can continue the match, right? Holy shit.
Right. Bobby Roode.
I thought I was tough. He made me look like a bitch.
I'm very happy to report that 89% of the chat is excited for Victory Road. For those who are excited about TNA, I will let everyone know now, as far as our programming goes, next Thursday, a week from today, the two faces on each side of me will be here covering Impact. We're going to run it back. A couple people have asked for it. We're hoping it does well, but we are going to run it back and do a TNA episode. It's been a hot minute. Of course, Anthony's got his weekly reviews, which are amazing, so go check those out. Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of TNA next week.
They didn't pay us to show the show or anything like that. We can't show the show on Twitch or anything, but we'll be here, covering TNA.
Right?
Absolutely, one of the only ones doing it, because other people don't do it now because they can't show the show.
Right?
So, yeah.
And they don't know who the wrestlers are.
Exactly.
That's the show's on. Oh, here comes that guy. 3 hours of SmackDown tomorrow. That is not accurate. I do not believe.
But is there the potential, because we've got Raw moving to the 2 hours till they go to Netflix? There's been the speculation that SmackDown moves to the 3 hours, which, please, no, don't do that. You're not going to retain an audience for 3 hours on a Friday night. You struggle to do it on a Monday night. You do that just to go head to head with Monday Night Football. You're not going to do it on a Friday night.
I don't understand. I don't understand the fandom, because they didn't want Raw to be 3 hours for a long time, but then you want SmackDown to be 3 hours. It doesn't make sense. But the consensus is, with the Raw going to 2 hours, that was the agreement they made to continue to show Raw on USA Network until the end of the year. Seems like USA had other programming lined up, and that was how they had to keep Raw on TV until January. But SmackDown going to 3 hours, I really don't think any wrestling show should be 3 hours during the week. It needs to be 2. But Raw is probably going to go back to 3 at the beginning of January, and I'll be okay with it, because I'm going to still watch all 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, and we're here anyway. But within WWE, nothing has been said. I think a lot of it's speculation. Like, well, we lost one, we gained another. I saw some mark out there was like, WWE loses an hour and AEW is going to Fox and gaining an hour. We're like, no, that's not how we look at this. But I think when they go to Netflix, what I've heard from like, you know, from people closer to the situation is they might fluctuate and like test out the end times, right? Like,
that's why I've heard it's going to be like TBD of it might go 215, it might go at 230, it might go with 245, it might go with 3, what have you. But it all depends on what the situation presents itself and everything of playing a lot more fast and loose. Like this is going to be fun. This is almost like the goddamn moon landing a little bit of you've got wrestling a bit on a fucking streaming platform, and especially something that like is Netflix that is that widespread and everything that is almost more globally spread than any cable network or anything.
Yeah.
So this really is like an historic kind of holy shit moment.
Absolutely. 80 million homes is the potential with Netflix.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to be out there with cinder blocks and plastic bags and syringes and shit out of the gate and go 75 hours. No, you might go a respectable 215 or 2.5, and you're going to have some huge holy shit moments. Like we're talking about how stacked the shows are this week. Imagine the first week that they're on Netflix. What the fuck are they going to load that with?
Fucking Cena,
the twins, CM Punk, John Cena,
crazy.
Fucking anybody, everybody,
right? Digging up the fucking bones of Bruno San Martino to get him fucking out there. Like,
I like to sing about the sun and the moon and the
spring. Quickly, folks, we are about to head out towards the door. As you can see on the screen and on that man's beautiful chest. F Meltzer t-shirts are available. We are raising money on behalf of Nick and his birthday, and we are raising money for 2 good causes as the anti-Uncle Dave movement continues, and we're helping literacy. All profits, we don't see a penny of it. It goes directly to the North American World Literacy Foundation, which is a mouthful, which there you go.
Hey, at least you got through it better than Meltzer does.
That's fact. A couple questions on our way out, just to touch on some of the facts. That's not the one I wanted. Hurt Syndicate will join AEW soon. Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton. Anybody have a take on this? My only opinion is if it happens, they got to run through everybody.
But again, then you have what you're now 4th, 5th heel faction that is taking over the company, that is dominating everything, because you would have the Hurt Syndicate, the Bastard Combat Club. You've got the Elite, you've got the Learning Tree. So there's 4 already, and I'm sure that there's 1 or 2 that I'm clearly forgetting. But so it's fine, and it'd be nice to see. But it's who does Bobby Lashley stand toe to toe with there? Like Wardlow, you buried him to shit. Brian Cage, who gives a shit? There's no one there that can stand toe to toe with them. And again, it becomes faction warfare, which is all this fucking company's been. And they're all heel, and they all want control, and no one goes anywhere.
I feel like I've said it before that I think they'll work better in TNA and adding Tasha Steelz, and then you got the System versus the Hurt Business. You got you got Bobby versus Steve Macklin, Bobby versus Moose, Bobby versus Joe Hendry, Bobby versus Mike Santana. You got a lot of match potential with the Hurt Business being in TNA versus AEW, I feel.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's way better.
The best heel run that we've ever had of Bobby Lashley was when he was out there in TNA with MVP and Kenny King and everything, and that was pretty much the foundation and the premise for what they did with the Hurt Business in WWE. So it makes perfect sense.
I concur.
A Bobby Lashley versus a Hammerstone.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, some big bodies, Big F and Joe.
That's how you slide Bobby Lashley in NXT. I think this is like the underground fucking trade here of you sign with NXT, but we'll sneak you back in the door to NXT so you can still be on WWE.
I think it might
vice versa.
Did you see it happening with the Hardys sliding in back door?
No, because they'll get pulled over before they get to the door.
Ross, let Matt drive.
No, because he won't know where he's going.
Road. TNA WWE actually do a co-branded pay-per-view? I believe so. I believe there's a Worlds Collide or the Mega Show or whatever the fuck.
What was it called? I've said it a bunch of times. It was an old
Super
WCW
Brawl.
trademark Super Brawl. Yes, that's the one. They do something like that because they did the Worlds Collide, but no Power Man 5000.
Yeah, I think it could happen. We might get a replacement if Masha. Okay.
Yeah, that was announced last week if Alicia is not cleared to wrestle because of what happened at Emergence.
So
Yeah.
like Daniel Bryan, it's up in the air. We'll go.
Oh yes, everyone's waiting with bated breath if that 5-star athlete Alicia Edwards can compete in the match. The greatest of all time, future Hall of Famer Alicia Edwards, if she cannot compete in this match.
Serious question, Nick. Who do you dislike more, Alicia Edwards or Wendy Chu?
Oh fuck!
It's definitely Wendy Chu.
No, honestly, it's Alicia Edwards. Wendy Chu is at least a wrestler.
I've never seen you get so red in the face.
Play a wrestler.
I've never seen you get so red in the face and angry for Alicia Edwards like you do for Wendy Chu. It's definitely Wendy Chu.
No, I just get red in the face, just period.
Last
okay.
Last thing, and then we'll tap out. Can someone explain why people hate so much Liv?
You gotta live, laugh, love, and survive. I don't know. No, I'm not mad. No one's mad at Liv.
Well, there's a lot of hate out there for her, but I think what I've noticed over
a lot of weirdos too.
The facts. I met one today. But I think the what I've noticed is when Charlotte was on top, there was a large collection hated her guts. Then you had Becky on top, a large collection hated her guts. Like it just feels like whoever the top person is going to take shit. It's like everyone's favorite band, everyone's favorite movie. There's always going to be this sour collective that just shits on it.
People feel it's a lot cooler to go against the grain than to go with the grain.
Exactly. And I think people come up with weird and dumb, outrageous reasons why they don't like or hate a certain superstar. Yeah. And then they try to justify it with 57 TikTok videos that none of them make sense on. So, yeah. That's how I'm going to leave that one.
I love that. But again, she's cooking. And again, the ultimate test for any of these wrestlers is what are the fans in the building doing when they're on TV? And if they're silent, you got a problem. If they're booing or screaming, you're golden. And right now they are losing their mind for this couple. It's over the top. It's in your face. It's irritating. And we're supposed to hate her. So congratulations on a job well done.
Your reaction is what determines anything. It's not how anybody else feels about it. It's about what the crowd says. If the crowd ain't with it, ain't nobody with it.
Well, speaking of with it, folks, that is our time here tonight on a Thursday. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, be a part of the family, be a part of the Wrestling Utopia. We are growing faster and faster by the day. And I will remind everybody, we do watch more live wrestling than anybody else out there. Tomorrow, we got 3 shows to dive into. It's going to be a fun one. We got lots to get into, lots to talk about. But click all the buttons, follow us on social, go check out our Discord as well. We appreciate everybody for being a part of this. But that's all I got. Anthony, got a word?
TNA review coming up this Saturday. We'll be covering Victory Road and everything that's happening tonight as well. So I'm excited for this episode.
Our shit is real. Our shit is raw. Our shit is authentic. When you're talking about that wrestling, you're going to put that for life with it. Bye, Josh.
Come back tomorrow. We'll see you on the flip side. Good night.